There we go.
All will be explained. Hi, this is Alex Fair. Welcome to MedMo 2021 Vision, where we're going to see up to 11 teams today, maybe even 12 if they all show up, present their ideas for what they think healthcare will be including in 2021. So these are really some cutting edge ideas, things that we've never seen before. So some really exciting stuff. We have an amazing panel of judges. Also, we ask everybody to judge. We made the form available for all the visitors and attendees, and even the people who are actually in the contest. We would welcome your input. I mean, people like Gerald Shapiro, I mean, you've been in this industry so long, even though you are working on your innovation, we'd like to hear what you think about the other innovations. And of course, please don't judge your own stuff. Just recuse yourself and all the other data will go in. Just for your own stuff. Yes, Gerald, that means you and everybody else, because we've seen people do that. And we usually just, if somebody gives themselves only 10s, we usually give them, convert, take a 0 off and no, I'm kidding. Yeah, just be honest about it. You have to sign in with your email address. You do not have to share your information with all of the participants. So there's an option for that. I do ask, do not use your browser back button when you're doing the judging form, because that messes things up. There's a forward and a back button on the bottom of the page. You can also see the t-shirt that you can earn if you do a judging, even if you're a member of the audience. We actually have pretty amazing members of the audience. So if you actually are in the audience today and you want to be introduced, just raise your hand at some point, and in the break, we'll let you guys do a little 2-minute intro for yourself in what we now call the Meet the Crowd portion of the event, sort of a little social networking, things like that. One of the things you really lose in these virtual events is that ability to get to know everybody. So hopefully you'll get some of that about the entrepreneurs and the judges, at least, and members of the crowd that want to step forward. We're always amazed by who's in our crowd, folks from CVS and Aetna and what have you. Oh, those are the same company now, I guess. But Oscar, there you go. But yeah, so our community is, 90,000 people strong, and we message everybody many times, to come to our event. So we never know who's going to show up, but it's usually amazing people like Craig Lipset and, Yeleni, who's now one of our judges. Deanna is a judge. Kat Jung now finished her medical degree and was actually one of our first interns back in the day. So really amazing folks, and we value everybody's input because, we're all stakeholders in healthcare, whether we as patients who are getting the treatments, we as doctors, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV, the providers, care providers who want to give better innovations or provide better innovations, partners who want to be known for giving those innovations. So all sorts of amazing folks. We actually just made a new link for our mentor network to apply to be on it. And a number of you actually used that recently, but we're gonna pop it.
You have it just going to me.
Really? Okay. So we're gonna put it in the chat box. So anybody who wants to be a panelist or a judge or a speaker at one of our events, or just have better access, assuming I didn't do it right, or just have better access to the network, which is an amazing thing, because I've seen people get hired from it and just really move things along. It's actually why I started doing this in the first place. I came to an event in 2009. I had an interesting idea for a startup, or at least I thought it was, and I banged it around with a bunch of people at a New York Health Technology Organization meetup group event, actually on April Fool's Day 2009, and I met a finance guy, I met a lawyer, I met another bunch of doctors that I could get to sign up for my platform, and it was really very useful. So when they asked me to start running events in 2010, I said, yeah, sure. And I'm still running events here 10 years later. We've started obviously the crowdfunding site, venture funds, accelerators, and helped thousands of companies get going faster. Obviously, we're not just in New York anymore. We do events like this in 25 cities. That's what the MedMo World Tour and T-shirt is about. That was our plan to go, but then we get as far as I think the second on the list, which was South by Southwest, and South by Southwest got canceled, as has the entire 2020 schedule. So we've gone virtual. This is our 8th virtual, 9th,
Yeah, 9th.
8th. I lose count. Virtual pitch contest. We did manage to get to 9 cities earlier this year, but mostly that was just visiting folks up and down the East Coast, not really doing events. So anyway, so we're doing our best to keep the fun going. Pat, why don't we go through a few of these slides here, and we can talk about what we're going to do today.
So, a round of applause for that, Alex. Great job.
Thank you
for
Atul.
sharing the
Atul, you've been with us forever. You've seen this developing from just a little meetup group. So thank you, Atul, for your sponsorship, for your mentorship, and for investing.
Always.
So, thank you. We hope it's providing the returns that you hoped it would. Anyway, so this is the schedule. So essentially for another few minutes, I should be talking, and then let the judges introduce themselves for a minute or two. Then we're going to have 5 pitches. Then we're going to break with this new segment, which we're calling Meet the Crowd. So, and then we'll have 5 or 6 more pitches. And then hopefully I'll be able to do the math really quick with this new and improved version of the analytics that I made this morning. And we'll move on to the next thing. What else do we have? What's the next slide? Judges. Okay. So there is an event that we are collaborating with. On the far left here, you see Aline Noisette, who's not here today, but she's one of our mentors who's usually with us. She's been with us for a long time, helping out. That's next week, the eHealth Investment Forum. It's all virtual. You can see the link up on the top, bhhsummit.com. Should be a great event. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the judges. Next slide, please. MedStarter Venture Partners is the big sponsor here. So we started an venture fund, and the whole idea here isn't just to get awareness and have a competition, but it's also to help us figure out which companies are the most likely to be successful. We feed all the data from the event into our algorithm, and it tells us, what to do next, meaning who to put through our due diligence process. When we say there's $125,000 in prize money, it's really funding money, right? So we have a chunk of money which we intend to invest this year. And so we're looking for our next 6 startups. So we're running these challenges and contests to find those companies. So, usually we have about 1,200 companies apply, to be on stage at one of our things. We put the best ones into these pitch contests, and then we gather information from the crowd, that's you guys, that tells us what to think. I don't think that we're the smartest ones in the room. We know that the crowd knows a lot better than we do because you have so much expertise, so much knowledge in the space. Next slide. Here's just some of the judges today. Wow, where'd you get that picture of George? So some of you, nobody knows everybody. So if each judge who's here now will turn on their camera and introduce themselves for a few minutes, I will shut up. Okay, try to keep your intro to 30, 40 seconds or less, because there's at least half a dozen of you here, and we'd like to hear about all of you and what's important to you. So if you want to start off, Kat, or whoever is ready.
Okay. Hi, I am Kat Jong. I am a psychiatrist based out in Washington State. And as Alex said, I started with MedStarter when I was still in medical school, and then contacted him recently because I'm looking to get back into the innovation world. So here I am.
I'm very happy to have you. Atul, Deanna, Yelini, anyone?
Yeah, happy to go next. Gastroenterologist by training, as Alex said, but by vocation, I have done AI, and as a practicing clinician, I also have clinical trial and regulatory experience. With regards to investment, I have been essentially investing for a good 10 years now, generally not as a solo anymore. It used to be solo in about the 50K range, do about a handful, about 5 to 10 to 12 a year. More recently, as part of a syndicate, there are 2 syndicates. There is a loose New York syndicate and the Calicanis syndicate. So we'll do about 500 to 700 in aggregate as a check size.
Nice.
Over to you guys.
Hey, I'm Deanna Dammers. I own a company called Deep Dive Talent. I'm the Chief Connection Officer. Been working with Alex since 2017. I'm a mentor and advisor for startups. And most recently, I've been working with a company called Precision Global Medical Solutions. And we are fighting the battle of PPE at this point, just trying to help out a lot of companies, and love working with startups and doing what I can to, help them move the ball forward. That's pretty much it, I guess.
Great to have you here, Deanna. Deanna's claim to fame in my world, the reason that I noticed her first was because she had written on one of her forms, we used to use paper forms at our events, she wrote, "I want to invest in this company." And it was a great choice. That was actually Valasher. David Light did great with that idea. We didn't follow Deanna's lead, which we should have. But anyway. So thanks, Deanna. Always great having you here. Yelini, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you're looking for?
So I'm Yalini Sanathiraja. I'm faculty in the informatics department at University of Pittsburgh Medical School. I do research and innovation, especially in electronic health record design and also patient-facing technology for things like chronic disease management or a lot of other things. And also some work in things like analytics to try and streamline diagnostic processes.
That's great, Yelini. Thanks for being here. Good to have your perspective. New person, Rohini Hebar. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Rohini. For 20 years, I've developed innovative software solutions and have driven digital transformation initiatives at global organizations. And for the past 12 years, I've really focused on healthcare IT, and most recently was at an integrated health system where I led a 90-member team to build an electronic health record and EHR ground up. And following that, I'm working on my own digital health startup right now, and I also serve as a mentor and advisor for both startups as well as VCs. Really excited to be here and eager to hear from the founders of the great startups you've lined up today.
That's great. Will you be my mentor?
We'll have to see which way that relationship goes.
Anyway, so we finally have a use for Robbins and Glayton again. So anyway, just a pro tip for all you presenters out there and anybody who's out there, put your laptop a little higher so it's not looking up your nose all the time, or so it can't see your double chin. In my case. Okay, so what other mentors are? These are the jokes, folks. This is all I got. So we actually have more jokes, but they're all equally bad.
I'm in, Alex.
Oh, hey, Ivy. How you doing?
Hi, I'm Ivy.
Like this blonde look is great. I like it.
Oh, thank you. Getting back to a salon is a new concept. So great to see everybody. I have a firm, Ivy Cohen Corporate Communications, so been an entrepreneur with my own business for 19 years. Most of our clients are large corporate. We focus on reputation management for global and growing companies. And we do a lot in healthcare and the health and tech sector. We represent clients from big pharma to med device, to point of care, to health education. So very involved in a diverse array of health and technology related companies. Have the pleasure of serving as a mentor at several incubators and accelerators, and have really enjoyed being associated with MedStarter, and look forward to the wonderful new startups we're going to hear about today.
That's wonderful. And it's always great to have you, Ivy. Always love to have your perspective. I mean, people say, oh, consultants or what have you, but honestly, people like Ivy have a deep understanding of what it takes to actually get an idea out to market and get the attention of the bigs that might wind up buying your company or at least partnering. So she's been an invaluable mentor and in our network. So thank you, Ivy. I also see my brother is here. Hey, John, why don't you say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm also been working on my relationship with Alex for.
It hasn't gone well, though.
1969. We shared a bedroom, and so I'm still working with him.
I had the bottom bunk, and anytime I'd be pissed at him in the middle of the night, I'd be putting my feet up and giving him what I call the bunk ride.
every day. Like when we were 13 years old, we had a seminal fight. It took half an hour. It was even, and that's the last time we ever fought. I knew that he could beat me probably.
He lost.
Yeah, that was even. Okay, if I lost, whatever. Anyway, so I still, work with Alex, and on MedStarter and all the MedStarter companies. And I'm excited to see what the companies are today. I have to leave at 5, unfortunately, but I'm gonna stick around.
We don't really count your voting very.
I know. No, we count my voting anyway.
I just throw out this. No, I'm kidding. No, my brother's amazing. He's done amazing stuff, and I'm so very happy to have this. Another amazing guy here is Paulo Machado. Paulo, did you introduce yourself yet? I forget.
Hi, everybody. Paulo Machado, been in and around healthcare for over 25 years, in startups for over 12 years as a coach, mentor, and investor. Looking forward to meeting these new companies and seeing what comes of these conversations.
Yeah, well, what comes hopefully is investment and acceleration.
I just want to actually, it's Alex's birthday in 2 days. That's it's a non sequitur, but I just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to top what you did last year, John. So
Sure.
It was my 50th last year, so we threw like a 200 person.
We made a calendar, 100 calendars of Alex, so you have a full year of Alex Fair.
Just what everybody needs, and we got the disco ball.
No, I made the calendars.
Heather made them, although she stopped them in October. I don't know why, but
Anyway, so yes, if anybody wants a commemorative 12-month calendar that ended
of Alex Fair
October, of me and John and our sister and everybody else, yeah, they're available. I have stacks and stacks of them. I have no idea what they're useful for. But thank you. But it was an amazing party, and I appreciate it, and I'll always remember it. And we have the video. And there's also a healthcare event called Dance Dance Healthcare Revolution, which we're not having this year for the first time in 3 years, obviously, unless we do something as a virtual dance party. So if you guys want to do that, put it in the chat box, email me. We can do that. It won't be as fun, but we can try. We can still have Jello shots though, because that is kind of a tradition.
Virtual dance, silent disco,
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so George, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Oh, hey, hi guys. George Hatzman, I'm an investor, lawyer, work in real estate based in London, and longtime friend of the fair and DeLeon artist family. So if you want to hear those stories about John and Alex when they were 13, I'm probably the guy to come to.
Okay, we're
and just one question, John. Is that a real bookcase?
Put him on mute. This could be like the presidential thing.
Real bookcase. And there's a piano there too. You don't see the piano.
All right, I'll stop now.
Okay.
DeLeon artists, Philip, Heather, and or Robert. Introduce yourselves. No, maybe. Okay,
I'll chime in real quick. It's Robert here. I've been working with Alex, and I've also known them for about 40 years. And I work on a day-to-day. MedStarter investor, work sales, marketing, money raise, vetting, investments, acceleration, and protecting our investments on a day-to-day. And looking for new ones.
Yeah, Rob's amazing. He works with all of our teams. He's an amazing strategic advisor, super high EQ individual, knows how to do stuff that I just could never do. So thank you, Rob, as one of our venture partners. We're very appreciative. Who else is here? Heather?
I'm Heather, DeLeon artist, and I try to help the fund and MedStarter and however I can.
Yeah, she does investor relations, and she's also the timer today. So she helps these events go, and usually she does most of the arranging, but she's obviously less to do these days. Not to be belittled is Patrick Hurd. Say hi, Pat.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
No, Pat actually is the man behind the scenes. He's the producer here. He does everything, and he's super amazing. Who else is here that we have not gotten to yet?
I think that's everybody, and we're like 10 minutes behind.
Well, what else is new? Okay.
Hey, Alex, Phil D is going to be joining. He's at a doctor's appointment, but he'll be joining. He brings the investment banking experience to the table, but he'll be here in about 10 minutes.
Awesome. Okay, so if the timer is ready, we can get on to the next part. So Phil, Norm, if you want to bring up your deck, or Pat, if you're doing his deck for him, that's fine. So let me just explain the rules here. Each team has 5 minutes to pitch and 5 minutes for Q&A. Okay, that means that they have to be relatively succinct. and they have to, get their message across. We want them to make sure they cover, the model, how they're going to make money, the team, their tech, why they're amazing, and of course, an ask, so what are you looking for today? How can we help you? When I say we help you, it's not just money, it's our network, it's our mentorship, our acceleration program, whatever, but also the crowd is here and they have so many other skills, so many other things to offer. So in the Vision 2021 Vision Heat 2 judging form, there's actually an opportunity for people to actually, send you comments and things like that, and we'll give you access to all of that. You will be stopped at 5 minutes. My name is Alex B. Fair. I try to run a fair contest, small pun intended. And we do expect you to stop 5 minutes. And if you don't, then, Heather's gonna go, stop, or make some sort of noise or what have you. And we're gonna pull it on you. Or if you do keep on talking, we'll just take it away from your Q&A time. Judges, please take turns asking questions, ask one, try to keep it succinct. And also when you're answering questions, teams, please try to be succinct as well so we can get to the next question. There is usually a plethora of questions. So you want to make time for all of them, because the more information you get across, the more people are going to know what the answers are to questions like, is there a clinical benefit? So if you are looking, does anybody having problems opening up the judging form? I'd like everybody to have the judging form open. I don't care who you are, open the judging form. When you get to the actual section, so after you're entering your information and whatever, it should only take a second. There are 6 areas we ask people to judge you on: clinical benefit potential, feasibility, how innovative this idea is, scalable or fundable. Okay, fundable is the 4th question. So if it was your money, would you give it to them? Scalable, do you think this can go global and is possible to be $1 billion company? And of course, last is sort of like a catch-all, like how good was the presentation? And then we ask for your comments and suggestions. And then, if you want to do something with the team. So like what Deanna did in that first day saying, I want to invest, that's a good piece of information. If that's the urge, if that's what you're compelled to do after you see a 5-minute presentation with 5 minutes of Q&A, then absolutely, by all means, tell them and tell me so that I know how excited you are about the company. Speaking of which, don't forget to tell us who you are and what you do in healthcare so that I know how to value you if you're not already one of our vetted mentors and judges. Okay, so I think I've said enough. If I've forgotten anything. Okay. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, but we'll get to that at some other point when we have some time. So the first team is one of the ones I'm most excited about. I should have probably put them last, but somehow they went up first. GFR 90, which everybody knows GFR is glomerular filtration, right? Wearable artificial kidney from Tiffin. Tiffin?
Yes.
Tiffin. I can't see very well. Okay, so you should see his screen. And Norm, if you're there, you've got 5 minutes as soon as you start talking.
Great, thanks, Alex. Appreciate that.
You might want to speak up a little, Norm.
Okay, is this better?
I think so.
Okay. I don't have to review very much with this group, the normal kidney function, but it's a setup to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And you recall that balancing fluid, removing toxins, and electrolyte balance are the 3 things that the kidney most does. There's endocrine functions there and a few other things. But you have to keep that in mind because those are the 3 things that we're trying to emulate when we introduce our product. So when you go through normal hemodialysis, 2 to 3 times a week, some do 4 times a week to get more fluid off, it creates problems in and of itself. As some of you may know, dialysis is prolonging a life, but the quality of life, the mental health of that person, the medical outcomes are extremely poor. And this has been shown a number of times, but basically what you see is an increase in fluid, and then you go see dialysis and the fluid drops dramatically, then it increases over the next 2 or 3 days and drops again. And really the kidney does obviously a better job because it does it continuously instead of 4 or 6 hours over every 2 or 3 days. So you get this up and down, which if you can eliminate that up and down, then you get back to the kidney function that is better for you medically and from a health wise and less expensive too. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get continuous dialysis that mimics the kidney. To improve all of those things. Now, this is a well understood problem. Certainly, if you're a nephrologist, you know a lot about it. If The FDA in 2012 said that if you can solve this problem, we will fast track your program through the FDA. And just last year in 2019, the White House came out with a presidential order. And the second piece of that, it was all dialysis. The second goal they had was in 2025 to have 80% of new patients on home dialysis. And we have that solution. So there's about 800,000 North American dialysis patients. Most of those, as you may recognize, are in the United States. And most of this comes from diabetes and high blood pressure, which are quite prevalent and increasing about 45% annually. The addressable volume is in the whole market, and the whole market's about $61 billion in North America, doubled that, but that's about half of the world. So doubled it for the rest of the world. And if you take 15 to 20%, you get about a 9 to 12% billion addressable market. And we've actually done some research in the last couple of weeks, and that 15 to 20% looks a little low, to be honest with you. Most nephrologists are saying, yeah, we're more like 1/4 to 1/3 of all dialysis patients can benefit from this. So that number's a little bit higher. So what are we trying to do with our device? The three things that the kidney tries to do itself: continuous removal of fluid, continuous removal of toxins, and continuing balancing of electrolytes. And so instead of this up and down green sawtooth pattern, we hope to make it the dash pattern, or at the very, very least, we hope that maybe once a week you will have to go into dialysis in a clinic. Hopefully you don't have to at all, but that's the end goal with this. So those three things are the three things that we're trying to do: fluid removal, toxin removal, and electrolytes. We're doing this in two phases. The fluid removal and the toxin removal come in the first phase VEST. So that comes out within 1.5 years of funding. We've done it on human blood. Clinical trials were supposed to start, and COVID hit the exact same week. The good news is...
Please mute yourself, somebody.
The good news is that COVID is not very prevalent here in Ontario. So we are going to be starting up these clinical trials again very soon, and we'll have results by Christmas. We hope to launch that by the 3rd year, preferably at the earlier part of the 2nd year. Phase 2, however, includes electrolytes. And of course, it'll be FDA fast-tracked as will the first one, and we hope to launch it in 5 years. That's the electrolyte piece that's really, really complicated. And the fluid removal and the toxin removal are the two pieces that most people will benefit most from. So that's why we're trying to do this in 2 phases. And we'll be successful with the phase 1 very soon. So both are a vest. You wear it over your shoulders, the battery's in back, the function takes place in the front, and we will have replaceable cartridge configuration such that your vest, you probably buy a vest once a year, and the cartridge, every time it has blood in it, has to be replaced every time you want to restart it. So if
30 seconds left.
How much?
30 seconds.
Holy jumping Josies. Okay, so payers, practitioners, patients, you probably all guessed that this is going to be very beneficial for all 3 of those groups. And as you know, for medical device, those 3 of those are important. The upside of this is rather large. The orange there is the consumable phase 2 revenue. And we've since updated that with our new numbers. It's over $1 billion in year 6 for revenue. We do have intellectual property. We have 4 patents that have yet to be issued. But we have first to market advantage as well.
All right, that's 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll just leave this slide up.
Okay, I'll ask the first question. Tell me about your team.
I'm sorry?
Tell me about your team.
Okay, so there's myself. I've been doing medical devices for
Go to the other slide. Go to the slide with
years.
the team.
There's another slide, yeah.
Go to the team slide.
Do we skip it?
Back 2.
Okay.
There you go. Go ahead.
All right, so our CEO has done several entrepreneurial plays in technology and finance. I've introduced several of my devices to the market. I was a respiratory therapist years ago, went into research, been investing and working with medical devices pretty much all my life. Gord Campbell is our PhD. He's a biomechanical engineer. He's the one that developed the device. And Robert Lindsay is our nephrologist. He's the guy that came up with the idea 5 years ago, and we've been working on it since that time. He's got a great network, which we're going to leverage.
And what's the other slide you had there that we didn't get to?
That's our ask. So we're currently doing a development phase. We're pretty much funded for that. But the Series A is a $1.4 million US for our first year of operations to build out our organization.
Okay, let's let other mentors ask questions.
Can you show a picture of the vest?
Oh yeah, we'd see the prototype.
Say that again?
Let's see the device, the vest, the prototype.
I don't have a picture of it here. We wouldn't show you the technology anyway.
Oh, we'd show up with a prototype. Okay.
Sorry, not gonna happen.
Hey, Norm, this is Rohini. Quick question. What about your competitors?
Yeah, there's two competitors that are probably most prominent that we know of. There's University of California, San Francisco has been working on their vest for 16 years. They've been radio silent for 2 years. We haven't heard a thing from them. They've been looking for money for a long time, and they just disappeared off the map. There's another group down the highway from us, from Kitchener, Ontario, called Kidney. They're working on an implantable, and they're well off of our timeline. But we're actually in their side. We want that to happen, but it's
You're
not going
about to end your time. Quick question, Norm. Can you just go back to your revenue and then tell us revenue versus profit, if you have a decent understanding of that yet?
Yeah. We have a forecast of it that's based on, let me see if I can find it here. That's based on the percentages of what we think we can do in the marketplace. And it's quite conservative. It's less than 5% of the market after 5 years. And you can see there's 6 years. In the second or third year, in the second year, we introduced the first vest. In fifth year, we introduced the second vest. That's why there's different colors here. So that 211 is a
That's in year 6.
net income. Pardon me?
Year 6.
Year 6 is net income, and that's based on figures that need to be updated in the last 2 weeks. Again, we've got better numbers, and they're much higher.
Hey, Norm, great job. This is Paulo. Just curious, you're asking for money for a year. You're not launching and generating revenue until year 3. Why such a small ask now versus take the cash you need to get it to launch?
Yeah, we could do that. It's just because it represents the first year. That's the reason we divide it up into those 3 tranches.
Are there key forgetting the calendar? Are there key milestones that you're looking to hit with the first round of cash?
Yes.
Like working prototype or whatever. Like what's the?
We have a working prototype. That's not an issue. We're going into clinical trials with that. We want to bring in a bunch of engineers to make it smaller, faster, lighter, power efficient, and those types of things to work us towards a production model.
And what's the biggest hurdle between, from a clinical impact perspective, what you're trying to accomplish? What's your biggest hurdle or two between now and launch?
Well, we think FDA is always a hurdle, no matter how much they say that they're going to fast track whatever you're going to do. You can't ignore them. And we have yet to get together with them and negotiate a clinical path, clinical research path, at least anyway. I think the cost of clinical research is extremely high. And it's not included in our costs because we think we can do it with grants here in Canada. So that's going to be a hurdle as well.
Where are you doing your clinical trials?
They'll almost always be in Canada for the first little while, just because our nephrologist is so well known here in Canada that he can open any door for us. But eventually we will have to go to the States. I don't think there's much doubt about that.
Heather, do we have any time left?
Are you?
No, we're out of time.
What?
No, we still have 32 seconds.
Okay, quick question. Can you, since you're not showing us a prototype, can you at least describe how the vest interacts, something about how the vest interacts with the dialysis machine, or what?
Yeah, sure. Well, so the vest is the dialysis machine, and it actually hooks up to the veno-venous, catheters that a person already has because they're already going through dialysis. Okay. So you just simply put the vest on, you hook up your blood, you turn it on, and away you go. Go watch a baseball game, go vacuum the house, whatever you want to do. That's the whole idea.
Okay, so it's the next generation dialysis machine. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to get more information on the vest or the tech at some point?
Yes, absolutely. Be happy to.
Okay.
He's got a project to come in, so I'm on the next one. Okay, so we're going to drop a link to. He's out of time, right, Heather?
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic job, Norm. Great start. Just so you know, at least half the teams today also have a project on medstarter.com right now. You can either go to medstarter.com, the homepage, or we're going to drop during the presentations links to their projects wherever possible. So it's also, you guys might notice who are on the judging forms, it's on the top of the judging form, a link to their project. So I'm pretty sure GFR's got a project.
Did I drop it in already?
Oh, good. So yeah, he's amazing, isn't he? Okay, so great job, Norm. Big round of applause.
Thank you.
So, and now, without any delay whatsoever, we're going to move on to number 2. So judges, if you will fill out your form, I know I've done mine. I have to go back to the next one. So this is actually John Feit, not to be confused with John Fair, who's on the line. John Feit, please meet John Fair. Actually, is John here?
I wanted to see what he looked like.
Where's John Feit? John Feit, are you here? Yes, he did start sharing his screen. John,
I am here.
I can hear you. How about
Right, by the way.
There you go. So yes, you please meet my brother John, who we had talked about a few days ago.
He's like my twin, my long lost twin.
Yes, exactly. He looks like you too.
Does that look like you?
Well, more than I do.
Okay.
Anyway.
Fraternity. Okay.
Okay, so so same rules, 5 minutes. Judges, if you guys are all ready. If you guys aren't ready, still want to put some more.
You guys see, but before you do that, you guys see him screen and all that?
Of course we're seeing your screen. We tell you if you were. You even see a little hand moving around.
Okay. Sounds good.
So fast-paced game, John. Try to keep up. So yeah, so folks, speaking of keeping up, you should see on your screen 2021 Vision Heat 2, number 2, Beyond Lucid, John Feit. He has a link to his website, Beyond Lucid Technologies, which will also drop into the chat box. He is not on MedStarter right now. Maybe he will be at some point, but he's also doing pretty well right now. So he's a little bit more advanced than some of the other companies, but we're going to hold him to the same standard. So 5 minutes, whenever you're ready, John.
Starting my own timer. Don't start me yet. There we go. Hi. All right. Jonathon Feit, Beyond Lucid Technologies. Thank you for that, Alex. We are a bit of an unusual company. I'm going to take you through somewhat quickly here. We are a company that's been around for a while. We make a bunch of money. And so the purpose of introducing us to you today is really as we are looking to grow a bit faster than we otherwise would do on our own. But that said, the first question that always comes up in every presentation I do is, who's my customer? So my customer is the guy in the truck. Hopefully you guys are seeing my screen there. You see ambulances, you see hospital, you see fire service, and the public health and hospital systems that they work with are beneficiaries of our work. I'm going to skip over the glossary, but I'll come back to that. So even today in 2020, while we are talking about COVID and substance use and end of life and all sorts of really important connected ecosystem things for EMS, the standard of care of documentation, the best practice in our industry is still a piece of paper. In fact, this image right here in the upper right corner is from earlier this summer. This is how one of the largest ambulance services in the state of California is keeping track of its COVID exposures for its own people. They have 500 personnel. They are keeping track in notebooks. So it's a problem because information gets lost, about 50% of it at each node of handoff, and a $3 billion economic loss to the industry every year. That is our TAM. We can help them recoup that money. We can make part of that money. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So the solution to these problems, particularly as the market evolves in light of a pandemic, is a connected ecosystem. Our software is designed to facilitate that and is unique in its nature. The MediView platform, which has been in the market since 2013 when we achieved our compliance, essentially our industry's version of a FDA equivalent, is really based on providing solutions to make capturing of information fast, intuitive, and sharing of information high quality in real time. We are up to 3 days faster than our closest technical competitor, and to enable that information for the first time to be strung together over time. What falls out of that are some really important ancillary capabilities, including the ability to provide end-of-life wishes to EMS in the field for the first time at the patient's side. And this one we'll talk about, which is very, very exciting. Essentially, imagine OnStar, I'm sure some of you are familiar with, but where the opportunity is to know what's wrong with the people in the car. A couple of years ago, this is what our penetration looked like. 2016, this is what it looks like a couple months ago. So we've been growing pretty well, and for better and worse, pandemics. And when people have health problems and the world is kind of falling apart, emergency services tend to do pretty well. So our objective as a company has never been to own our entire market. We describe ourselves kind of like water. Our objective is to find the cracks that the bigger providers in our industry are not going after and exploit them. And go to those cracks and provide high margin niche products that essentially fill in the gaps, but also allow us to tack on to the incumbent. So rather than try to push the incumbent aside, which can be a high inertia event, as I'm sure everyone here can appreciate, the idea is to essentially do what they're not doing for a variety of reasons. And I'm happy to talk to you guys more about that during a Q&A. But the idea is that there are niches that are pretty substantial, like substance use disorder, tracking of patients over time, applying EMS principles to chronic care management, going after COVID-19 exposure tracking, syndromic surveillance, that don't require us to own the ecosystem. Those are the types of things we do, and we do them really, really well. So just a couple examples. COVID-19, this is a very exciting one. Down in the bottom right corner, you can see from Los Angeles County Fire. That's actually their COVID coordinator earlier this year. COVID is going to be around for a while. It's a big problem. We needed big solutions. We were able to deploy in Los Angeles County a tracking system for their own personnel within 5 days. It's been working in automated fashion ever since. Cost of acquisition on that would be less than about $600. So that was a pretty interesting opportunity there, and there are many of those now. Similarly, COVID, all that existed before COVID still exists, and it's getting worse. Substance use, perfect example. And again, we're helping EMS agencies participate in those programs, track those patients over time in a way they've never been able to do before in EMS. And the unfortunate reality of COVID is that the same people who are affected most acutely by this disease are those who are most likely to need their end-of-life wishes known anyway because they have some pre-existing condition. We actually own
30 seconds left.
Thank you very much. So this is where we've been. Like I said, we are unusual in that we achieved profit before we're talking to you. So our unit economics are extraordinary, and a little bit about sort of the market size of $3 billion. But the automotive application I talked about, which builds on what we've already deployed, is roughly $7 billion. And again, the architecture that is needed to do that is both patent pending on the deployment side and already in the field in terms of the infrastructure. Our competition, I'll give you a sense of where we sit.
That's in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions you got. Thank you, guys.
Great job, John. Just real quick, what's your ask here?
We're raising around $1 million. So we've only raised $955,000 over our lifetime. So it's really about putting some turbo in the tank. I know I kind of skipped over that slide a bit quickly, but the mention was here that basically we have cash. I've got about 20 months, give or take, of cash right now. So it's really a matter of being able to.
That's good, John. We need to talk about your slides, but not right now. Questions for John? Anyone?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Okay.
Shoot.
Go, Ivy.
So how big is the market for where there isn't a competitor? Are there already competitors with EMR systems tied to EMS nationally, or is there a big component? And how on earth are you able to integrate, subsections or basically charts and lists of questions into someone else's existing system? Wouldn't they just upgrade their own system and add 6 questions or some?
No, that second one's a particularly great question. First one, there's really not. I mean, there is space in our market where there are others who don't touch. You can sort of see the matrix here broken out a little bit. A lot of what's unique has to do with the way things can be deployed into the field. For example, to deal with offline capability where you're out in a rural environment, a lot of impact out there, natural disaster preparedness, et cetera. So our ability to not only capture incident-specific data, but also data over time, which allows you to see how patients are doing over time, measure health as opposed to just a particular incident, and do that even while you are disconnected from a network infrastructure is unique. It's very operationally important. I can go into that more if you'd like. As to why others aren't appending to their data, that's actually really interesting and probably a long question. But incumbents will do what incumbents will do. So for folks who have maybe a couple thousand clients across the country, it's very hard for them to modify their infrastructure. Some of these companies have been around a very long time. The oldest competitors in this industry, like Zoll, for example, have been in the market since around 2001, give or take. They use some very old architecture, still folks using server-based architecture, for example, not even migrated to cloud. So appending in the way that you're describing is actually so difficult in some cases that they've actually stepped out of these new and highly urgent markets like substance use, chronic care management, and COVID. They do nothing in that respect. So we actually utilize APIs. It's very much a platform play and kind of layer on top of what's already there so that we actually can utilize the existing incumbency, make them sticky, which actually makes them an interesting ally of ours, it's been very important to us getting into market as we have to utilize the incumbents as platform channels, or as channel partners rather.
Yeah, I like that collaborate rather than compete approach.
Exactly. Okay, call it co-opetition, right? I believe that's the buzzword, Alex.
Yeah, Dr. Kumar, I believe you had a question.
Yeah, Kumar. So questions about you're in production, you're in the market already.
Yep.
What's your run rate and what's your burn rate at the time? And you said you have about 20 months. And just the month over month or year over year growth and maybe the ARR or MRR if you have that, some of that data.
Yeah, so I figured probably best to show you that. Are you able to see the screen there?
We do see the screen, yes.
So our monthly burn is about 25K a month. We're pretty lean. I've actually, as a manager, I've been inspired by Instagram. If you guys remember the story of Instagram, got acquired by Facebook for about $1 billion. And they had 13 employees at the time. We kind of structure ourselves similarly. We are hyper efficient. We've been largely virtual for most of our existence. Not all of it, but for a large part of it. So COVID has actually dropped our expenses substantially, while revenues have done pretty well. So we're higher than last year and about half the expense. It's pretty neat.
So you're in the positive and you've doubled up your revenue over the past year, it seems, from 230 to 450. Is that not revenue, but income over the last year?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the reason that flattens a little
30
bit.
seconds.
As we introduce some more technology, we're looking at bringing on a little bit in terms of personnel. Like I said, one reason to talk to folks like you guys is we're looking to hire an engineer or two additional, just kind of take some of the strain off my team, while also being able to have more fingers on keyboards. But things are going pretty well.
So you have a pie graph with regards to how you're going to use your raised dollars?
I don't have a pie graph here. I could
take down, maybe.
That's 5 minutes. It's up.
Okay, so I'll take one more bonus question. John, do you have any kids?
Do I have kids? I have 2 kids.
Okay, good. Because I have one of each and my brother's got some. I think there needs to be a hyphenated kid in our future, but it has to be fair first. So it's got to be fair fight. Fair fight.
I'm sorry, that sounded like a proposition, Alex. Am I supposed to take it that way?
I don't know. This is how these things happen. Anyway, so other than judging my jokes, if you guys will all take a moment to fill out your judging form. Great job, John. I like I said, we got to talk.
Like I said, if this the question about the pie graph, if someone wanted one, I'm sure I could produce one. It's easy enough to do. So.
Well, you have 15 seconds while I fill out this form, so.
Maybe a little longer than that, but just so. Thanks, everybody.
Well, Atul is part of our investment review committee, one of our venture partners. So, he will be part of next discussions, assuming we have some. Assuming you win, place, or show today, or whatever. You're getting like a 1 for presentation quality for me. Sorry.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I don't usually telegraph that. Okay, so I'm done with my form. Hopefully, everybody else is done with theirs. Yes, no, maybe. Anyone?
It is a new template. It is a new template, by the way, Alex, in defense of myself, but I'm testing out some stuff.
Like I said, we got to talk. No, seriously, one of the first things we wind up doing with companies we work with is getting their decks straight. And because, if you want to go to like a scalable, get in front of people, go bang, 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 you just have to be able to, it's a rhythm thing. Think of like George Bush or the second, how you remember he would say like, today we're going to war. And then he would pause. And, weapons of mass destruction. I was lied to, and now we're all going to be part of that mess. So you're all going to hear everything that he says, because he says it slowly and he says it succinctly, and he's not trying to get too much across. So you got to slow down. Okay, just my comment.
All right, Cheryl's next.
Okay, so Pat's trying to tell me that Cheryl.
No, Cheryl.
Cheryl. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I tried to share my screen, but it's not letting me.
Well, we've got your deck here, Cheryl. So,
Okay.
So you can just say next when you get ready for the next one.
Okay, that's fine.
And all the judges are ready, I assume. Go on to the next page. You'll see here that btxpen.com, French version, is her site. She's not on MedStarter presently. And you can get to her deck though in the drive if you want to. And I think I've wasted everybody's time enough. Are we ready? You got her deck up?
Yes.
Really? Does everybody see your deck?
No,
I don't see your deck yet.
I'm opening it up.
I'm deckless. You go back to full screen.
Yeah, you are,
Um,
Alex.
There we go. Okay, PET pen. So one of 6 medical devices we have here today. It's a big medical device day for us. Did not do that on purpose, but I guess this is the future of medicine, devices. We do love devices. About a third of our startups and about half of our money is in medical device companies. So, so it's pretty exciting stuff for us. So take it away, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for this opportunity. My name is Cheryl Muise. I am a registered nurse. I've been nursing for 40 years. I live in London, Ontario. Next slide, please. So we've developed a dial-a-dose medication syringe. It is actually the only one globally that can be filled by the user at point of care. We developed it for the Botox, cosmetic Botox market, but during the development, we found a lot of interest for the pen for other uses. It's very generic, and the biggest market so far that we've identified is PET insulin. Next slide. So you can just keep flicking through those parts, yeah. So the biggest issue faced by pet owners, of course, is the cost of insulin. It could be like $450 for a vial. For a small dog and a cat, they would probably only use about 20% or less of that vial and waste about 80% of it, because insulin, of course, is a protein. It should be discarded after 28 days of opening. Next. So you can just go through it. There's lots of issues that pet owners face when their pet is diagnosed with diabetes, the fear of injecting, accuracy in drawing up those small amounts. And of course, many pet owners reuse syringes, and that introduces contaminants into the sterile vial. And of course, many don't discard that contaminated vial of insulin after 28 days of opening. Next. So it's really simple for pet owners to learn to use it. It's very precise. We've sent it out for accuracy testing. It's tested better than the current insulin pens on the market. Very practical. If it's filled with insulin, it reduces product waste and contamination, and it's quite comfortable. It reduces a lot of injection fear. Next.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Oh my God, really? Vet clinics' income from dispensing medication is shrinking due to increase. I've only got 1 minute and 56 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. You're right, sorry. We'll give you an extra 30.
Okay, thank you. Vet clinics' incomes from dispensing medication is shrinking due to increased retail and online options. And there's been a loss of revenue from the sale of insulin supplies, such as syringes. And next, you can keep, so vet clinics do have the option of pre-filling pens for their customers, and that would reduce all that insulin waste and save money. And it would make the injection process even another step easier for pet owners. And of course, the vet clinics will retain the income from the medication as well as the product. Next. So there is on our website, there is a demo on how that pen works. It works just like a syringe. You would draw up your medication into it, change to an injection needle, get rid of air, turn the plunger to lock it, and then you dial and inject just like you would dial and inject a pen now. Next. So the pet insulin market is quite large. There's about 3.6 million pets globally with pet diabetes. If you were to use on the average about 20 of our pens per year at $5 a cost that we would sell it for, it would be $361 million. And if you drill down to Canada and the United States, that would be about a $92 million potential market. Next. So our go-to-market is our initial target market is going to be vet clinics through distribution channels. We are going to start in Canada. We do have an interested distributor now. They have their own sales and marketing team, and they want to move it into the US market once they've established it in Canada. We have also toyed with the idea of e-commerce as well. And once the pet pen is launched, we're going to start a regulatory process for human use. We do have lots of interested distributors around the world for the aesthetic market for the BTX pen. And we are trying to expand a list of uses for the pen for the self-injectable market as well. Next. So for competition, there really is just the Caninsulin Vet Pen. It only holds one type of insulin. It is not the most popular insulin that is prescribed for pets. right now, and it is a more diluted insulin, and there's just normal syringes. Next. So right now we are in the middle of engaging manufacturing and distribution partners. We do have the pen out to 2 manufacturing companies right now for pricing. We do want to launch for the PET insulin in the summer, spring, summer of next year. Next. We are looking for around $400,000. Most of that will go in our initial manufacturing and sales and marketing costs. Next. And there's also a really large environmental impact. In Canada and US, for example, they would use about 676 million syringes for PET insulin. And if you use the pens, it would only be 18.5 million. Next, next. And I'm not going to get into all the issues around the Botox problems that we face injecting Botox. Next, but I just wanted to, next. I just wanted to just highlight that market as well. And it's not quite as big as PET insulin, but it is a pretty substantial market with about 16.6 million procedures being done globally.
All right, 30 seconds.
And we do have our intellectual property filed. Our first one was issued in July. Next.
Are these US patents or Canadian patents or?
US and Canadian patents. And we have filed PCT as well. My partner in this project is Steve Copeland from Human Scope. It is a product development company. They have over 30 years experience creating products. And myself, I'm the founder. And that's my presentation.
That's 5 minutes. Thank you.
Great job, Cheryl.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about the timing issue.
That's okay. You scared the daylights out of me.
Okay. So, okay, you can like me for a second, but now you're going to hate me. So I have this right here, which is my PET pen, which is in the market. Obviously, it's being used for my diabetic product.
Yes.
And it works really well. It does pretty much the same thing you're saying. Why is your thing better than this thing?
Well, because with PETs, you have to pick up the rough of the coat and inject this way.
See, I just dialed this. Oh, so you're saying it's because it goes deeper?
Yeah, it's a different injection altogether. So you really do need to, and
it's an IM or?
It's still, it goes, you pick up the rough behind their neck and you go inside.
I do that too. I just go right here. No, I'm just kidding.
Whereas that pen is more like this, right?
That's what I use for my Botox too.
Ew. Well, you can't fill your pen with Botox.
I'm kidding. I just made that up. So yeah, I guess the big difference is that it's reusable, refillable, changing.
No, it's not refillable. So once you have, if you're using it for PET insulin and you fill it with your insulin, once it is used up, it is disposed of. It is thrown away.
Oh, I thought you had a draw needle and
you draw it up. So for PET insulin, what I would do is I would fill it with insulin, fill the entire thing with insulin and use it until it's used up. For Botox, you would only use it for that treatment. So if your patient needs 65 units, you would fill it up with 65 and dial for each injection spot. So, and you throw it away because you can't use it on another patient. So it's a one-time use for Botox. For PET insulin, because it's your PET, it's the same pen being used over and over again, you can fill it and use it till it's empty.
Other questions?
I mean, this sounds, brilliant. And so what has kept the other manufacturers from, developing something like this? And what barriers to entry do you have in that regard?
I don't know if there is any barriers to entries per se. We do have, mostly it's just getting on board the distributors that we need. I mean, we've had a lot of interest from distributors, but the ones that we're looking for are those that have sales and marketing people that go out to vet clinics. So that's why we do have somebody in Canada who has that network already in place. And once we have an actual product and a better pricing projection, it'll.
So if there is no, if there's no barrier to entry, then this is a commodity. I mean, anyone, and
Oh, you mean as far as intellectual property?
Do you have an intellectual property?
Yes, we do.
You have a trademark or you have actual intellectual property? And
We
what
have
is
actual intellectual property.
around what part of it?
It's actually completely different than anything that's on the market now. So there's quite a few things. I mean, my partner can tell you the breakdown of all the different items that are listed in the intellectual property, but it is actually quite unique and different.
Yeah, that becomes valuable, and I think that has to come across, which it hasn't in this instance.
Early in the presentation, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, so it's the only one that can be filled by the user at point of care, which is because every other dial-a-dose pen is filled by pharmaceutical companies. So it's a closed system. This isn't open. So it makes, and it's very generic. It could be filled with a lot of things. We've had a lot of people say, oh, when I went for fertility, when I was doing my fertility injections, I wish I'd had that, right?
That is clear to us, but what is not clear is just being able to refill it is a patent that you hold and it's defendable.
Yes. Yeah, so we have
refill it. You're only able to fill it once, correct, Cheryl?
Yes, you can fill it up to, we have, the nice thing about it is we can make different versions. We can make one that does micro injections, like half units or quarter units. We can make it so that they inject large or holds more and injects larger amounts. But once you have filled the entire thing and injected the entire thing, it's now garbage. Yeah, you throw it out.
Quick question, Cheryl.
Seconds.
Sizes? Do you have different sizes of this pen?
We have one right now, but we do have, it's quite easy for us to make other sizes.
You've already made the molds and you're ready for manufacturing?
The manufacturers right now are making the molds. So they are pricing out the molds for us. Yeah. So we have 2 companies that we have sent it out for pricing.
How long you been working on this? Since
It's 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, folks. So great job. Great to hear about your product, Cheryl. As you can see, I rely upon my mentors more than my own insights. So that's one of the reasons we ask everybody to fill out the judging form, and we appreciate your input. So when you guys are ready and our timer is ready, I'd like to point out to my partners, John, not to distract our timer. So with other requests at the same time. So also we haven't heard that much from some Betty and Rohini. So I think next time you guys get to go first, I won't be asking any questions initially. So that stated, if everybody's ready, we can move on to AudibleRx with Steve Leuck. Okay, Steve, are you sharing from your screen or?
I've got it coming up right here, I believe.
Okay,
oh, wrong one.
Okay, well, we'll give you a second. So Heather, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, feel free to ignore my brother and your husband, okay? I mean, I think I could say that right now. I usually can't say that, but now I'll say it. Steve, you might want to go to, I think it's like Control L or full.
Yeah, I've tried that before, and Control,
Control Shift L or something, or Apple Sign L. I don't know.
Yeah, Control Shift L.
Has he do it? Okay. I don't know. Whatever.
If you guys are okay, this is okay with me.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, whenever you start talking, Heather will start timing.
Go.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. This is real exciting, pitching virtual like this. Alex, the judges, all the people watching, thank you. My name is Steve Leuck. I'm a pharmacist. I'm CEO and founder of a company called AudibleRx. What we do is we provide easy to listen, web-based consumer medication information. Today, I'm going to talk about the challenge, our solution, and the next steps. First, I know you're at home. Everyone, I want to see a show of hands. Who has ever been to the pharmacy, picked up a prescription, got home, and did not know what the medication was to be used for? Come on, raise your hands. Second question. Again,
this is not your average audience, Steve.
when you get home, who throws out those handouts that are stapled to the prescription bag?
100%.
Okay, those handouts are called consumer medication information. And for the last 40 years, it's been a legal requirement for pharmacists to hand these out with each and every prescription. So the issue is hospitals
and pharmacies are incredibly busy. Regularly at either the pharmacy counter or at the hospital bedside, patients are counseled about multiple medications in under 2 minutes and then sent home with a stack of papers. What if English is the second language for the patient? They misinterpret the medication information regarding the drug interactions or the side effects, and they end up in the emergency room. This happens. Secondly, what if the patient happens to be one of the 36% of the population who are challenged with literacy? They don't like how the medication is making them feel, so they're unable to read the information about it. They stop taking the medication. Bad outcome. My question is, where do our patients get their medication information from when they go home? Most likely an unmonitored internet search. Or perhaps they ask Alexa or Siri to tell them about the medication. There are just way too many variables with this. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this. However, I challenge you this afternoon, pick 2 or 3 medications, ask Siri or Alexa to tell you about them, and then go to AudibleRx and look up the same medications. Our solution, simply put, is AudibleRx. We are a web-based, copyright-protected consumer medication information library. We are the only CMI company that provides medication information in a easy-to-listen-to audio format. We are accurate and consistent. We talk to the patient in plain language, and importantly, we follow all of the FDA recommended elements of a complete counseling session. Our mission is to provide useful and accessible consumer medication to everyone. Cost is a barrier. So with that in mind, our platform is free for both providers and patients, the consumer.
All right, 2 minutes left.
Our next step, we currently have over 20 healthcare providers who have signed our terms and conditions and are using our platform educating patients right now. As well, anyone with an organic search would be able to find our website and utilize it for a tool. With nearly 4.5 billion prescriptions filled in 2019 alone, as well as the increase in telehealth, our market definitely has room for growth. Over the past 6 months with our new business model, we have increased our user count to over 1,500 users, new users per month. Our plan is to procure some funding, $25,000 in funding. This will go towards building out our library with new languages, new medications, as well as marketing our product. We need to get our product out in front of the consumer. Once we get to a certain number of users per day, we'll be able to begin to sell some niche advertising on our site. Then, as our user base grows, the value of AudibleRx grows. Our plan as a team is to then sell the platform to a company in need of a functional consumer medication information library. Currently, any prescriber, any mid-level practitioner can contact us through our website, audiblerx.com, submit us a note through our contact us page. I'll send you back a terms and conditions paper, and you sign it, send it to us. You can begin utilizing our tool with your patients today.
30 seconds left.
Our team of 4 of us, a pharmaceutical executive who's done startups before, a marketing and branding producer, and a drug information pharmacist with some mad web building skills, plus myself, a pharmacist of 35 years. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present, and open for questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Steve.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so questions from the crowd, preferably
Steve,
not.
great job, Steve. I'm just curious, what's your business model once you're at scale?
Our business model, once we're at scale, is to continue to get our product out in front of people and advertise our business to larger companies who may be in need of acquiring us. We realize that what we have here is a product that once larger companies see that it's going to work. You know, right now there's many multinational companies who could do this. None of them are producing it in audio format. Once they see that it's viable and it's working, they're going to start doing that. And we realize that. Our goal is to get it to scale and sell it as quickly as possible.
How many languages do you have, and do you have statistics on like preventable errors or anything like that?
So we currently have English and Spanish with the top 85% of all medications that would be prescribed in your normal outpatient pharmacy. that encompasses close to 300 different medications. And we are working, part of our goal with funding is to, using Amazon Web Services, develop new languages. We have someone, our next language that we're going for is Vietnamese, because we have a Vietnamese medication therapy management pharmacy business interested in utilizing it as soon as we can put it out. We just do our niche, our specific niche is consumer medication information, a replacement for, or in addition to, those pamphlets that are handed out.
Hey, Steve, this is Paulo. Steve, I'm just curious, why are you asking for such, how much runway are you going to get with that 25,000? It seems like an awful small amount of cash.
Right, it is an awful small amount of cash. And we wanted to do something at this point in time that is feasible to do, that we know that over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, we will be able to put it into action. Our team, just to be transparent and upfront, our team are all full-time employees at our own job. I'm a full-time pharmacist. I've been working on this for a few years now, between 4 and 8 in the morning and at nights as our team. And we want to assure, you know, if we are going to ask for a large amount of money, then that would be something that we would be prepared to sit down. One of us, you know, I would need to leave my current job in order to manage that and run that 100%. I'm hedging, like any good business, we are hedging ourselves at this point in time here. We have a developed product and are ready to go. And once we see that 25,000 utilized and showing the endpoints that we want, we will then proceed with more.
How many different medications are you supporting, Steve?
Oh, sorry, one more time.
How many different medications are you supporting?
We currently have, it's just under 290 something medications that we have on our library. And I'd be glad to send you our library list, Deanna, at any point in time. You can send me a note, or I can forward that to you.
A couple of questions. Are you literally reading the content from the pharma manufacturer's description into the device, or do you imagine working with pharmaceutical companies to make the content more digestible for an audio format, or do something that is adaptable and unique rather than just reading from the...
Yeah, real important. Let me answer you this before the 5 minutes is up. There is consumer medication information cannot be done by manufacturers. It needs to be done by private enterprise. Our specific process is that we have developed plain language where it is easy to digest, easy to understand. We have that templated, and each session we have written ourselves and is copyright protected, and we follow the FDA guidelines. There's a 2006 document that explains specifically what needs to be in those.
It's my formulary, understood. Yeah. And then I would also weigh in on the budget. I think you have a better chance of raising several $100,000 than you do 25,000, unless you get it from friends and family. I think you're better off. You don't even have to quit your job. You hire someone who's smart and knows how to do this to work for you full time.
Sure.
I think you have a much better chance going at this with a bolder plan about creating new content, adaptive content, and going all in. Because why would I want to invest 25 grand if you're making it clear that at any point this house of cards breaks because someone doesn't have time?
Well, just so you know, that the house of cards won't break. I've been at this for 9.5 years right now, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to get there.
Well,
but I appreciate that. That makes complete sense. Thank you for that.
Steve, I have a quick question. I'm going to take you back to the revenue generation
yes.
piece. And so, you know, you're waiting right now. There's no subscription cost. It's a free model till you are going to go to the ad revenue model. And so I was wondering, you know, why that approach? Why not? You know, are you collaborating with maybe pharmacy information systems and other opportunities like vendors, right?
So,
manufacturing pharmacy systems. So you know they can put this out somehow, or.
I have a good answer for you on that one.
Yeah.
We spent a few years back, I pitched with Alex also, and we created our product. We took it out to large pharmaceutical companies. We went to 3 hospital consortiums, a couple of chain stores, a couple of insurance companies. All of them absolutely loved the product. All of them wanted to see that it was developed and working in another system already. We went to investors. Investors didn't want to give us any money. They loved the product, but they didn't want to give us any money until I was full-time AudibleRx. So at that point in time, 6 months ago, we changed our business model. We wanted our product to be used. And starting 6 months ago, I've been cold calling people. And from that, we have these our new space of more usage now than we've ever had before.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Love you, man, but you're out of time.
Got it. Thank you. I really appreciate this, guys. Thank you so much.
No, great job. And I agree with most things the judges said. I will note, I love you too, Ivy, but if you have comments and criticisms or suggestions, constructive, please use the judging form to go deep on that, just because they only do have 5 minutes and they want to get through a bunch of Q&A. That's why we give them a little extra time.
Thank you, guys.
So great job, Steve. I love what you're doing. Would like to be able to support it, but as the other said, I need a reason. So
yeah.
So anyway, okay, judges, fill out your forms, and we'll. I got to do mine, and nope, I already did it. Good. And we're moving on to our fifth company called OcuFlow, OcuFlow by Theresa Kramer. So Theresa, if you want to share your screen here, just also a reminder, in the break where we usually do COVID drinks or dancing or sing somebody happy birthday, we're not gonna do any of that today. Well, we might do all of it, but this time we're doing meet the crowd. So if you're in the crowd and you want to introduce yourself and say what you're doing, Aaron Bogdancy from Thera, for example, Fred Chaslow, who's supposed to present today but he didn't get back to us on time, feel free to raise a hand and Pat will allow you to talk or whatever, and you can spend 30 seconds or so saying who you are, because one of the things about these events is the crowds are amazing, right? So in the crowd is somebody who's on the AHA subcommittee for innovations. In the crowd is some hospital leader. In the crowd is some other entrepreneurs. In the crowd are big investors, people from CVS, whatever. So it's just, it's incredible what happens at the event, after the event, during the event, and things like that. One of the things I miss most about our in-person events, other than turning on the disco ball, is actual in-person interactions. So we try to do a little bit of that, and we can just talk amongst ourselves, or just blather on endlessly, like I do. Okay, so is he sharing his screen yet? What's going on here?
Teresa's here. I'm not in a place to share my screen. Can someone share my screen and I will tell you when to send it?
Pat will share your screen for you. Can you see the screen? Will you be able to see what slide you're on? Or you
I've got the screen on my computer. I just don't have the mechanism to put it into the Zoom.
We're going to Theresa. Okay, so Pat's gonna
If you can hear me, okay, I can speak.
I can hear you, but I have to stop speaking, which is hard, I think. Okay, so waiting on Pat.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. Any questions from anybody about what we're doing here, why we're doing it? Anybody who didn't hear the intro? Any questions? Anyone? Ferris? Go back to the fair fight thing? No, we can go on that for hours. No, okay. Alrighty then. So actually, a lot of our investors in the fund are here. I saw George Hansman, Rob Delianaris, John Fair, me, Tool. And so the MedStarter Venture Fund. Okay, good. You're saved from me talking about the fund. But basically, the fund invests in the companies that win these contests. That's it. Okay. Heather, are you ready?
Ready.
Judges, I expect you're all ready by now. So we should be on number 5, OcuFlow. And they are not on MedStarter right now, but you can get to their website at ocuflow.com. And for those of you who want to play the home game and want to help judge, if you guys got here late, I would love if you would go into that, and there's a link into the in the chat box. Pat's going to drop it there, or I'm going to drop it there again because Pat's running the rest of the show. I will shut up now. Go when you're ready, Theresa.
Okay, I'm ready. I'd like to start with the fact that medical devices is a complex path to market. And so if I lose anybody, just interrupt me. There's a lot of terminology and different things. But OcuFlow, I'm Dr. Theresa Kramer, and I've been an academic ophthalmologist across the country teaching residents for 35 years. My mentor from when I was 16 years old invented this device. And after he passed away, he asked me to carry on his legacy, or his family did. And we had to reinvent it because there were issues, but the concepts were so absolutely solid and fantastic. He was from Johns Hopkins Wilmer. They had APL lab on. It's just really, to me, it was something that needed to go back to the market and be taken to the patients, because that's where it helps. Because I am pre-market, OcuFlow, I have to make a disclosure, and the OcuFlow product has not been approved by the FDA and contains forward-looking statements for investor use only. Nothing contained in these materials is intended to constitute a solicitation or an offer to buy or sell securities. Okay, let's start with the good stuff. We're looking to prevent blindness in patients that have ocular blood flow related issues by measuring and monitoring the ocular blood flow, and then monitoring the therapy, the response to therapy after the treatment. So we have a portfolio of devices, which I think at this level I'm not going to go into, but each one correlates with a stage of funding level, along with a stage of FDA, and along with a stage of billing for Medicare reimbursement. So I just want to go over the basic premise of how this works. As an ophthalmologist, I'm in the clinic. I see a patient with aging macular degeneration, which is the picture with the yellow dots, okay? That is early aging macular degeneration. And we already know that the blood flow is affected, but we have not ever been able to measure it, because the blood flow that's affected is the largest blood flow, but the most difficult to measure. It's sandwiched between two opaque layers, so you can't see it. And so we have a technology that can measure the majority of the blood flow in the eye. And so if you measure the blood flow after you diagnose, then you go ahead and you treat with drops. You say, oh, it's down, so you treat with some drops that improve the blood flow, and then you monitor it. And if this patient didn't work on that drop, you can try another drop. And so you end up with a personalized early stage treatment regimen, and eventually you retain vision and avoid blindness. Now, this is the three most common diseases in the United States that are related to blindness are diabetes, glaucoma, and aging macular degeneration. And it is predicted that 1 in 4 of everybody here will be blind before the end of their life from one of these diseases, unless we make a change. So our current device, we redeveloped it on the dining room table from the work from all the people that had participated in it for years. We now have a device that is clinical trial ready and has been bench tested, and we tried it on several humans. If you look at our target market, we're talking about optometrists and ophthalmologists, because they are the people that will use the device on the patients. Globally, in the US, that's about 60K, and globally it's another 60K. The device addressable market is then 120 million to 1.95 billion, depending on whose numbers you're using where. The recurring device revenue, we have a replaceable tip. So we've got the razor blade razor model, and the tip addressable market per year in US only is 120 to 630 million per year. Just to know, we are entering 2 global markets. One is the tonometry market, and the other is the optical coherence scanner market, which measures blood flow. So we're measuring intraocular pressure with one device and ocular blood flow with another device, and they have 2 markets to enter. So if we actually enter, we actually have traction on market entry. The technologies that we have allow for the provider 120 K increase in annual revenues for providers. We have 50 identified verified customers. These have previously used the device. We have an established regional sales force, which is ready from the people that. How much? 30 seconds? Okay, we have intellectual property. We have technological know-how. We have great competition. I just found out this was 5 minutes long. We beat the competition on cost and on being better and on faster and easier to use. Our regulatory strategy is intact with good regulatory files. We already own our 510K. The reimbursement is has been established specifically for this device. Our 10-year sales is predicting a break even in 1.6. This is a path of the development timeline. Right now, we're looking for $250K to launch the OcuFlow tonometer, which is the first model, and we expect to be done that in about 3 months, if we can get the funding to finish up the FDA level device and file it. So we're a pre-market company. I have 25 years. I went through that with you, and this is just our cash position and how each correlates with our launching, as far as the prototype and as far as the clinical trials we need, and as far as the market and the market trial with big suppliers. And this is our team. We have the best regulatory consultants in the nation for ocular devices. And that's what I got.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Theresa. Good job.
Did anybody get them?
Yeah.
No, we all got it. We were all wrapped in attention, except for me. Questions from our distinguished panel?
Linda, this is Atul Kumar. So question, great presentation. Good, seems like excellent product. Question is, are your team members full-time or are they consultants?
The members, I'm full-time. The VP of product development is full-time. We both have minor jobs, okay? Like Robin does stair-rail jobs, and I have a per diem 1 to 2 day a week job at Kaiser. And our Chief Financial Officer is retired.
Okay. Where are you based out of?
Maryland.
Baltimore.
I think it was Maryland.
Hopkins, right. And so related to the clinical trial, how expensive or what is the primary outcome? And maybe, you know, this is outside the purview of this discussion.
No.
It's a quick
pretty
synopsis of what it's going to cost to get you through the clinical trial.
Okay, the first 2 clinical trials are required by the FDA. It will cost us nothing to complete those because we have volunteers, except for things like we might have to do drops and tips and, you know, some things like that. So maybe $20,000 per trial. And then that gets us through 2 levels of products through the FDA. After we spend the $250K to bring it up to FDA level. And the later clinical trials, which will probably go on post-revenue because the historical literature of over 300 peer-reviewed references is all in glaucoma, and we have an open track to entering market in glaucoma because it's needed now, and they're publishing all the time. We need this blood flow, we need it. And so that's fine. I want to extend it into other blinding conditions like macular degeneration, diabetes. And in order to do that, that's going to take a major multi-centered clinical trial. But I'm highly integrated with the ophthalmic community all over the United States and around the globe. And we have ways to which we can do that without probably spending $4 to $5 million. Okay, so we're pretty confident there's people that want to get involved when we're ready, but we have to be FDA approved. We have to finish it up. So.
Got it.
So I see some of your FDA stuff is based on stuff from 2001. I think it was this one right here, the tonometer from 2001. Is that the same device? I mean, I'm a little confused as to the upgraded version versus this version.
I said that this was a legacy company, and that is actually the version that Dr. Langham produced before he died, got FDA approval before he died. He passed the rights on to, so we own that, which gives us the opportunity to go through the FDA with a letter to file instead of a new traditional. That then allows us to go out into the market and sell just as a tonometer measuring 2 parameters. Then we have to go back through the FDA as a traditional, which gets us up to the 12 blood flow parameters.
And you said you had tried this out in humans already? I mean, how many people have you put this in?
Every day. And yes, we tried it out in humans.
Like how many?
So far, I've been keeping it low because of the cost of IRBs and all these things. So we have 1 8-patient clinical trial here. We have another one coming up tomorrow in Ohio. We're driving out as soon as this conversation's over. Then we're going over to, there's another one that wants to come up from Sinai here. Then we're going to one of the top blood flow specialists in the world in Alon Harris. He's somewhere in the middle, Iowa maybe. And then there's a top glaucoma specialist who's used the device before, the old devices, and we're going to him the next week. And he's in Texas, but he's got a high level presence in glaucoma. And then we're going to move into, that we've got that many devices built. So.
Theresa, quick question. It says you have CPT code dedicated to this. That's the old one, correct?
The old one it's an 0198T, okay? And it's emerging technology CPT code. It has not been completely converted, but it takes very little because it was written for our device, one of the predicates.
I think you should have probably led with that, being that once this gets going, I mean, to get a CPT code is gigantic.
It is a game stopper, yeah. No, our
Last
CPT
question.
code, but I'm sorry.
Okay, so there's a question from the crowd from Harris. He asks, how can patients who have already used this, if not approved? Okay, that's sort of a general question. It's more of a trial situation, correct? Clinical trial.
Yeah. I'm a little confused on what I'm answering.
It's okay, Theresa. I think his question was, if it's not in the market, how can people have tried it already? And I think your answer is it's a clinical trial. That's how it gets to market.
Yeah, under investigational IRB control, which has all kinds of parameters and all kinds of safety things and consent forms, and you don't get away with anything.
You have peer-reviewed publications, Theresa?
That's it. That's 5 minutes.
How many?
Just
the peer-reviewed publications are 300 on the old devices.
Okay, and just please provide a link to your references at some point, your scientific references. So that was great, Theresa. Really exciting. Great to see your progress and stuff that's making it out to market that's going to prevent blindness. I know when I was born, some doctor diagnosed me as blind. I'll probably be blind again at some point, so I'll probably be a customer too.
I hope everybody is, because I think this is the most fantastic thing I've ever had to do.
Well, you'll understand. I was born with congenital nystagmus, so I didn't have no control of my. I was one of the first people to get null point correction surgery, which is probably why I do all this anyway, because innovation made its way. So.
Well, you're lucky, because that could have been worse. So.
Absolutely. I could be like this all the time. I know. Ophthalmologists love looking at it. Ed Rabb did it in the original paper back in '73.
And they send you to all their students, yeah.
Yeah, that's my first claim to fame. Anyway, so okay, so great. Judges, if you'll take a moment to score this one. And scalable and presentation quality. Considering you're on the road, Theresa. So I guess you're on the road a lot. You're going around to all your different clinical trial centers. You're very busy these days.
Yeah, in and out. I'm on the road now because I had to solve another problem with the patent people, and so.
This is what happens. We see startups that are kicking off. They never sit still. Okay. So I'm done with my judging. I'm on to number 6. So now, should we be breaking at this point, or?
I have a break, but if you want to.
You have a break at this point? Anybody want a break, or do you want to keep going one more?
Break.
Okay, we want a break. Okay, so it is now 5:38. We are way behind schedule as usual. So why don't you take 5-10 minutes? So if you want to go take a bio break or whatever, there's not going to be any presentations going on right now, but we will just be talking amongst ourselves. And that includes this new feature we call Meet the Crowd, right? So if you're out there in the crowd and you haven't introduced yourself, please raise your hand. I've said to a couple of people, you're welcome to talk. I don't really know how the system works. Oh, Steve Blocker has his hand raised. So how do we do? Steve, can we hear you? Say something.
No, I have to promote it.
Okay, so
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Hey, Steve, can we see you too?
I don't. Depends if you let me.
Let the man show himself. He's a fireman after all, or something. Volunteer. So tell us about yourself, Steve. Steve?
Yep. Can everyone see me okay?
Oh, now we can. Hey, nice to meet you. You got the same
Great.
haircut. Cool. That's not what I chose you.
Always. Stephen Blocker, paramedic. Have a company called Muru. We do clinical decisions for paramedics in the field. We're currently active for about 1,000 paramedics in New York State, and we're about to be named the official app of New York State for all pre-hospital care.
That's awesome.
And then we'll be expanding from there. So that's
What do you think of Beyond Lucid Technologies? Have you used that on your ambulance?
I just met him last week, actually. He reached out to me to say hi. So I haven't asked to use the product at all, but he's definitely filling in some gaps in the system that currently aren't being covered by the major EHR. So,
you know, our first investment was Triage.
Oh, really? Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, we love John. He won one of these contests run by us for the AMA back in 2016. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think Kat might have been. No, I think that was after your time, Kat. Who else is here that we haven't heard from, other than people who are presenting later? Harris Freitas? Harris B. Freitas?
Harris is here.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Harris is your friend, John, right?
Yes, Harris, my friend. Harris, what are you?
Yeah, promote him. He's already on the screen.
Yeah, well, his name is on the screen.
Yeah, Harris, tell us what's going on with you.
Hey, hi everybody. Hey, I know John from his prior life. I was his attorney. And,
okay, you can mute him now. Anyway, I'm kidding.
And my wife, she stepped out. She's a doctor. She was fascinated by the various presentations. So,
what kind of doctor?
OBGYN.
So what did she think of are you guys filling out a form? The OBGYN I sent it to, one of our mentors, loved it. Said if that works. Oh, you didn't see it yet. It's coming still.
Oh, wait, I've got to make sure she watches that then.
Oh, well, yes. It's very exciting.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Urinary incontinence product that basically has a valve that, anyway.
When's it coming up? How many
I don't know. Pat knows. Pat's our master of ceremonies.
It's in 4 o'clock.
So George, you're always fun to hear what you think. Any comments so far? Do you have any drinks for us to be mixed? No? George Hatzman, you want to let our 7th?
I'm here. Hey, I'm here. Nice hat, Alex.
Thank you. Birthday boy gets to wear the hat.
Well,
no, I
by the
didn't
way,
you were doing
Alex,
drinks tonight, so
Alex,
I'm
did you tell everybody about the good news about John?
Oh no, my brother is having a baby.
Yeah.
Here, John, show him your bump. Show him your baby bump. No, I mean his.
That's funny. Yeah.
Where's your beautiful?
Controversial procedure. She's in the laundry room. So.
Oh, okay. So she's 7 months pregnant. And you're making her do the laundry. You're such a bastard.
I know. She's buying thank you cards. Actually, is what she's doing.
Yeah, no, she's great.
We got married on Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. Just like this. So that's great. No, it's really great to see everybody. It's nice to see your face. So is it Harris? Harris is a first name or a last name?
Harris is the first name. Harris Freitas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's a comma there, but I didn't trust it. I've got trust issues with punctuation. Rohini, so you're a newbie here. What do you think of this? How does this compare to your venture fund process?
Oh, this is fantastic. I mean, I've been following MedStarter for a while, just hadn't participated. So I really like, I mean, you have crowdfunding all the time, right? But it's more online, but I like the personal interactions in this. And, it's kind of like a community, and at the same time, you get the feedback that you need.
Yeah, no, it definitely, all those things. We love it. And we use this as our first pass for figuring out what we're going to do next. Is there anybody else who
Fred wants to say something.
Oh, Fred Chaslow.
Yeah.
It's all about potassium. So Fred got bumped today. I'm sorry, Fred. I talked to Fred a month or two ago, heard his story. He was excited about it. And then we said, hey, everybody, send us your decks. And he didn't. So he got bumped. Sorry. It has nothing to do that one of our mentors really pushed us to do what we said we would do, which I had forgotten. Anyway, so Fred, tell us your story. Other than
the story that I'm going to tell about now is I too, besides the project that I talked that for which I was going to be presenting, where I'm also working with a company that makes devices to see into the eye. So they could look into the eye without having to do dilation. The name of the company is Retinogenics, and as far as manufacture, we've worked out. We have a company that does the manufacture for us, and we'll be on the market selling it in the next year or two. The reason that I'm saying this is I think that unless Theresa has heard of this company before, she might give me a call, and maybe there is something for us to do together.
Good point, Fred. And that is what happens at these events, that, you know, you guys wind up talking to each other, exchanging cards and things like that. So I recommend anybody who's here, please, if you think that there's anything you want to do, in the chat box, you can actually talk to each other directly and you can have private conversations. So I talked to Stephen Leuck a little bit before.
But hey, Alex, in a normal setting, you know, we're all together and a lot of people are together and they're actually, you know, rubbing elbows and handing out cards. So where, after this is over, where can people find all the information to get in touch with other people?
That is a good question.
Thank you.
That would be really a useful thing. I can tell you that right now you can actually use the chat window and talk to each other directly. We will keep this open afterward if you want, and maybe turn on some music and have Dance Dance Healthcare Revolution year 3 if you want. We do have the disco ball still. And cake and whatever. So yeah, we can do all that afterward. I don't have a setup for that, but obviously the community itself is amazing. Actually, why don't you drop that new link into the box? So most of you are qualified to be what we call MedStarter mentors, meaning guys like Fred who know an insane amount about lots of different things, you know, 40 years in the industry, making stuff, inventing stuff. You know, you guys all bring amazing knowledge to the table. So if you go to bit.ly/Medmo mentors, I'd like you all to apply to be mentors. And once you're in the mentor network, which is like 1,000 people strong already, you guys can interact with each other, talk to each other, see yourself in listings, sort each other by what you're interested in, you know, and you have special rights on medstarter.com. You can actually, so the way MedStarter communication system works.
Alex, when are we going to get an app so it's a lot easier for everybody mobily?
We need, if you raise when you raise more money, I'll put more money into development, or I'll buy a copy of Bizzabo for myself. But yes, actually the medstarter.com software has communication built into it, which I was trying to explain to people. It's like LinkedIn, but you can't just talk to anybody, you have to request. The difference is if you're a MedStarter mentor, like me and Pat and Deanna and a bunch of people here, that you don't actually have to ask. You can just start having conversations. You can also filter and search for people who are interested in medical devices or people who run hospitals or whatever. So, so it's a very useful feature. And, you know, there's only like 19,000 people there, but, you know, it's a good start. You know,
but we do need it. We do need an app. It'd be great.
I completely agree with you. It's on our development plan.
Okay. Billy.MedStarterMentors.
Hey, Alex, can you go over what you win when you win this competition, or first, second, third? What are the
Also, how come we're taking a break?
Because people need to go to the bathroom, have a cigarette. Well, not that, you know. Did you find it? It's capital. I was gonna do it. Anyway, so Pat, why don't you tell the people? Why don't you tell the contestants what they win?
All right, so the winners of this get put into like our due diligence funnel, and it's kind of like an accelerated one. So we try to get you in and do the first steps of me and Sherrod doing the first due diligence within like a week or two. Then after that, you'll meet with the partners of the fund, and hopefully an investment will follow.
Okay, so there you go. So yeah, we use this as our first step for when we choose to invest. So when we invest, we usually invest about $125,000. Usually 25 to 50 of that comes back for our acceleration program, which includes introducing you to the right people, a week of training in New York, and 3 years of support, no matter what happens. So all sorts of crazy stuff happens. 2 startups, we've seen it all. We've helped companies through it all, whether it's negotiating with the Mayo Clinic or dealing with founder fights or whatever happens. So, you know, guys like Rob and John and I will be behind you the whole time, coaching you and telling you how to talk to the bigs and all that other fun stuff. So, so basically it's a $100,000 check. But that obviously comes a lot of strings. It's not a grant.
That's first check. There could be follow-ons too later.
Yeah, we do follow-ons later. So, but we're not the only investors in the room. So there's other people here. Yeah, I see Rohini smiling when I said that. So Rohini's, I think, at Arc Ventures. And I don't know what their checks are like, but I'm sure she'll tell us if she feels like it. No, maybe. Usually VCs are very closed-mouthed group.
Yeah, Alex, how many more presentations and when are we going to start again?
We can start anytime. Are you ready?
How many more are there?
We're on number 6. There's 11.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys saw my message today about this. There's all of our amps go up to 11, but so we've got 11 presentations today when we held off on going to 12.
Rohini was about to answer the question.
Oh, good, Rohini. But you're on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm more in an advisory capacity with VCs. I'm not a direct investor.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can never tell the difference. Yeah, so yeah, I'm scientist turned VC, so I don't know nothing about no VC, but we're learning. We're doing okay. Okay, so I guess we should get back to the show, since my brother's a little impatient. But you all should be, because obviously we all have better things to do than just watch pitches all day and listen to Alex blather on.
I just like to keep things going and moving, keep things on track.
Yeah. Okay, so number 6, Pawns by Soner Haci. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that at all correct.
Yeah, that's perfect.
No, what's the right? Is it right? Soner? Soner?
Soner is right. Yeah.
Soner with Pawns. Okay, another company we're very excited about. So you should see number 6, Pawns Soner Haci at the top of your screen for those playing the home game. Soner's sharing, I guess.
Yep, I just shared it. I think you can see it.
Okay, Heather, are you back? Is Heather here?
No, sorry. I'm gonna be doing the.
Oh, you're doing the timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're paying attention to Pat. You should be able to hear him. So Pat, if you're going too slow, he'll give you like a 2-minute warning. But try not to go so slow.
Okay.
Not mentioning any previous people who went too slow. You ready, Pat?
Yep.
Okay. Judges, you're here, hopefully. And if you're not, then, well, we'll just have less data. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Today, we need to provide paramedics and first responders a tool that can be used for pre-diagnostics of potential traumatic brain injuries and spine injuries. Hi, I'm Soner from Pawns, and we are reinventing ultrasound technologies focusing on early diagnostics of brain injuries and spine injuries. 10 years ago, we lost our father because of one of these problems. And I think that's also like a problem that everyone has. Either the ambulances, lack of early and pre-hospital diagnostics tool, especially focusing on brain and spine, but also especially on the field, the medical image processing cannot be done or is limited to a doctor. And still there is no easy to use a non-robotic navigation system that the paramedics and first responders can use. And the problem is globally even a bigger problem because 5 billion people have no access to safe and affordable surgery, but also diagnostic systems around the world. And $400 billion is only invested is spent in after rehabilitation of, especially after brain injuries and traumatic brain injuries, but also spine injuries. So our goal is to reduce at least $10 billion annual, to provide $10 billion annual savings, but also saving lives by providing our technology to first responders and paramedics that can be used for reducing the risk of potential late diagnostics. And that is how we do. We are developing a technology that is basically converting ultrasound technology by integrating AI and medical processing so that we can focus, so that the system can provide an early diagnostics for potential brain injuries, but also spine injuries by focusing on an optic nerve. So that it can say to the paramedics what stage of the brain injury is, so that they can directly be connected to the hospital on the way to the hospitals and reduce the risk of potential late diagnostics. And we are targeting small, medium hospitals, but more importantly, like ambulances and paramedics and field medics and first responders. And the potential market that we are targeting is like pre-hospital diagnostics is $15 billion. And that is also our business model. We are focusing on licensing the system in two ways. Like one, for the smaller and medium-sized hospitals that doesn't have access to expensive MRIs or CT scans devices, but also providing mobile and first responder teams and a system that we can license for their use. And that is our timeline. So we started this year, and we are focusing on to get the trials by the end of the next year and launch the system in 2022, and then scale up in the US, and then also by 2023 scale in the MENA region and Europe. And by the end of 2025 to have also develop a patch version of ultrasound that we are using for ultrasound, and then integrate that to also being used in pharmacies, but also in small clinics around the world as well.
The links in the...
And that is the theme that makes it happen. So my brother has over 15 years experience in computer-aided surgery systems, and he's right now in Rutgers and the head of computer-aided surgery labs as well. And he has been developing these ultrasound technologies for especially diagnostics and non-robotic surgery systems, focusing on brain and neurosurgeries. And I am Soner, the CEO, and I have been working in different technology companies and also in Siemens and in different new technologies, and was basically responsible for business development at new market entries.
You saw this? You didn't say anything?
Do you know when we're talking about 2 million?
And we are investing, we are raising our right now seed round of 750K, focusing on developing the R&D further, and but also like for the clinical trials and FDA approval process as well, also for growing our existing R&D team as well. And we also have, especially that is really important for us, a social impact in our technology as well, because we would like to provide the same technology, especially to Doctors Without Borders and doctors that are working on difficult circumstances that they can use for fast and precise diagnostics and directly connected to the results. And we are Pons, and we are reinventing how we use the ultrasound technology for reducing the risk of potential brain injuries and spine diagnostics of brain and spine injuries. And happy to answer any questions.
Great. Okay. Great job, Soner. You had 8 seconds left. Hold on. So just to clarify, you have a diagnostic device, mobile diagnostic device that uses something to tell about TBI. I think I kind of, we didn't get that message. I mean, I know what you guys do, but tell me a little bit about the clinical efficacy of this. I don't remember seeing a slide on that. Tell me how well this works.
So right now, actually here. So we are focused on like monitoring and scanning the optical nerve in the eye. So that is basically how we can tell the potential stage of the potential brain bleeding. And because that optical nerve can also tell us like the pressure in the brain, and that is directly connected also about the potential risk. So right now the accuracy, that it is basically a pre-diagnostic tool so that they can stage the potential risk.
Any idea? Okay, go ahead.
And we have done a couple of trials, and right now I can the system can the accuracy can be between 70 up to 80% about these early stage diagnostics.
So it's a great mobile diagnostic solution, but not as good as being in the hospital. And now,
no, it is basic. Yeah, it is focused on like especially for pre-hospital diagnostics used by paramedics. So it is not a direct. It is not a version of CTs or MRIs. It is just basically.
Yeah, but if I was like a high school football, team sideline guy, could I use this to say whether or not they should go back on the field?
Yes.
Okay.
Or the same in spine injuries as well. So we are also focused on providing the same information for potential risk of spine injuries.
Oh, doesn't this go into the eye? This will tell you about spine injuries too?
No, that will like the spine will be scanned through the neck, not from the eye.
That seems a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So other questions? Go ahead.
It's Rohini. I have a quick question. So tell me a little bit about your competitors and what is your competitive advantage? Does it intellectual
Wait,
property
you
or
gotta mute
collect
yourself.
some other advantage?
Yeah, so we have like there are some couple of companies that are also using like either like ultrasound probes and ultrasound technology focusing on other parts, but all of them, they are focused on developing a technology that can be used inside the hospital, and but more on a more like, let's say, like abdominal scanning or cardiovascular scanning. But in our case, we are focused totally on brain TBIs and spine injuries that will be used outside on the outside of the hospitals, like on only circumstances. So that is our, and to provide fast but more precise results that can navigate the paramedic as well, like on the way to the hospital. So that is our focus. And like other companies like Butterfly or these kind of companies, they are more focused on developing something that can be used inside the hospital. And for the IP part, we are just right now writing our IP application for the system itself, because last week we also had a first letter of intent, like memorandum of understanding with a university in the US, for especially converting the props into patches. So that will be the next stage.
Right. So I noticed that on one of your next slides, it said something about spin-off in 2021. What do you mean? Are you guys like a spin-off from something else?
Right now, like it is right now, we started developing the technology with my brother. Like my brother started it in 2019, and he is still in the Rutgers. So we just decided that we should convert it into a company, and not just only research. And that is the spin-off that I wrote.
Okay, so you want to change that terminology. Spin-off isn't the right word.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Anything from the field? Okay. Well, this happens. Very.
Alex, can I ask another just follow-up question to what I asked earlier? So it sounds like there is no competitor who does it outside of the hospital, right? Like who creates devices for.
That's not true.
Yeah, and so that's why I was like, who are the competitors then, right? I struggle. If there are no competitors, then is there a need?
Rohini, there's a company out of Musk that just raised like $30 million for a concussion detector that goes to the eye just a couple of months ago. We met them on our East Coast tour not that long ago. So there are competitors, they just don't know them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're emergent. I'm sorry, do you want to answer the question yourself, Soner?
No, actually, you are right. So I did not know about them. So there are other companies that are focused on, like as I said, doing inside the hospital, but especially focusing on traumatic brain injuries. They are recent, like as Alex said, like a couple of years.
All right. We're out of time.
Out of time.
Okay, we're out of time. Okay, so judges, if you'll take a moment to fill out your score sheet. I already did. Oh, here's a random fact. Back in 2012, I actually worked on the TBI project that the NFL Players Association wound up beating the NFL in that big case for it. So I know way too much about TBI, so it's not a normal mentor kind of situation. Yeah, they don't know that I did that. So anyway, we have our next team. What's that?
Immunogen.
Immunogen. Oh, cool. So Craig, if you're ready, you can
I'm ready.
Put your slide up. So judges, if any of you are here, still, since everybody turned off the camera, I assume that they just left. So it's really just you and me, Rohini.
So I'm here.
Oh, Kat's here. Deanna's here. Good.
Deanna's
Okay.
here.
So I wasn't trying to guilt you into it, but I am Jewish, so that kind of comes natural to me.
So
Anyway.
is the presentation, you're going to be putting up the PowerPoint?
So we can do that. Also, you guys will notice that there is a MedStarter project for Craig. Does this one work, Pat, or is it like the last one? There was some issue with it. Soner, do you know why your MedStarter project is did you take it down intentionally? Soner does have a MedStarter project, but I don't know, for some reason it's not working right now. We will fix that after we get off the phone. I'm going to drop that in the chat box, the link to this one, if it hasn't been done yet. for their MedStarter project. Now, what you can do on a MedStarter project is you can actually offer to try, pilot, partner, donate, invest, what have you. So you can really get involved in these companies, mentor. And like the investment commitments are not true commitments. It's a investor interest. Same with the partnerships and pilots. Basically, you look at some idea and say, wow, I'd like to try that in my clinic, my hospital, whatever, or I just like more information, you can contact the person. And then from my perspective, we learn about who's getting who excited about what projects. So that helps us figure out whether we're ready to get involved with the companies and help them. Okay, so I think I've filled in enough space with MedStarter stuff. Is this the right? This is
the right slide.
Okay, Craig.
I want to thank you. As you know, I just got this invitation 2 days ago, and I just put together this pitch deck this morning. So we'll just go from there. Anyway, we certainly don't need an introduction to COVID-19, but we do need to understand if there's any potential benefit or harm from the use of cannabis or CBD. How do I get to the next slide?
Just say next.
Next. In 2013, I wrote the background rationale for an NIH R21 grant that produced the following results. We used synthetic ligands for the CB2 receptor, and I'll get into that in a minute. And these ligands bound to the CB2 receptor in vaginal tissue construct, and it showed that we could improve the barrier structure and function of the vaginal tissue, reduce inflammation. Next, please. I'm sorry. Back up. We reduced cell signaling, upregulated the genes involved in innate immunity, downregulated inflammatory genes, reduced the transmigration and infiltration of antigen-presenting cells. This was in the context of HIV and vaginal transmission. Next, we use these highly selective ligands for the CB2 receptor. They're derivatives of THC, except for CBD and PEA, which is an endocannabinoid at the bottom of the screen. These are high affinity ligands, meaning that very low concentrations can be used in whatever formulation we end up using. They're non-proprietary in nature. JWH doesn't have a patent. We had patents for HIV, but they've expired. And for JWH 056 and L759633, they're non-psychoactive in nature. Back, please. They're non-psychoactive in nature, and so therefore we think that we'll have a pretty straight path through regulatory approval. Next. Our current research program, and the reason for this presentation today, is that we have a collaboration with Pat Hayden, who's a senior scientist at Bioservices, Inc. He was the winner of an NIH $894,000 grant to produce 96 well plates with a proprietary biodegradable polymer that his company has developed. I went to him, and then he shared with me the fact that CBD, there was a paper that was published that showed that CBD had an effect on the receptor for the COVID-19, and it took off from there. Back up, please. I'm sorry. I'm not touching anything right now.
So Craig, you only have 2 minutes left, so you want to get
right. So in any case, he's growing nasal tissue, endothelial, and alveolar tissues for taking 4 of our compounds and testing them in well-established experiments. Next. As plain as the nose on your face is a paper that I recently published in Frontiers of Immunology, and it basically gave me the background and further background for establishing the need for the nasal administration of a vaccine over an intramuscular approach, but it also provided a rationale for the route of administration for our drugs, which will act locally to improve the barrier function, enhance mucosal immunity, reduce the inflammation and trafficking of immune cells. Next. And if a patient's already been infected with the virus and is deteriorating, these drugs can be used to promote the innate non-immune anti-inflammatory response in the lung tissue, improve the integrity of the lining of the vasculature, and inhibit the immune-mediated inflammatory responses that cause pneumonia. Next. And we are also developing the drug as an adjuvant. An adjuvant is any agent that can improve the immune response to a vaccine. Our goal is to establish the role that the endocannabinoid system plays in adaptive immunity, an antibody response to promote our lead compound as an adjuvant. I'm not having any control over these slides. I'm not sure who's doing that.
You
In
have
any case,
auto advance, so Pat's fighting your auto advance.
all right, so in any case, next slide, please. The three pillars of strength that Imogen sits on basically is intellectual property portfolio that's good until
30 seconds.
2039 if our patent that we have in the hopper right now gets approved. We have a first mover advantage, and we have an aggressive pricing policy of 10 to 15 cents per day in the low to middle income countries. Next. We do have the patents for HIV have expired, but we still have marketing approach to them through regulatory affairs protection. We have a new patent that's been applied for and waiting office action.
Greg, you're out of time. If you want to spend 30 seconds finishing up, we'll just take that from the Q&A time.
Right. So the patent that we have right now is for the non-hormonal treatment of genital urinary syndrome of menopause. And we also have a provisional patent application to enhance mucosal immunity. I'm sure you'll have questions about the exit strategy, so we can skip that if you want. And as far as Imogen is concerned, I've been involved with cannabinoid research for the last 20 years. So we've come up with novel uses for the compounds.
Well, Craig, let's just jump into the question. So what can we do for you? I mean, it sounds like you got a lot going on.
Right. We have basically at this stage of the game, we have a research program that's focused on COVID-19, and we need $150,000 to be able to complete this work. Pat Hayden is doing the work on his own time, if you will. It will help advance his company's products if, in fact, he gets good results from the standpoint of growing the tissue. But in terms of the cost of actually doing all the assays that we need to do that are going to be able to show what our compounds are capable of doing and the constructs that we're using to test them, we need this money as far as assays are concerned, reagents, contracts with CROs to develop the assays. And it's a really modest amount of money, but it gets us to the next inflection point, which basically is telling any future collaborators with whom I've been speaking that we have a drug with real potential and we can move into animal models. And that's going to require another round of investment.
Okay, so questions from the other mentors?
Does he need FDA approval for this?
That's a good question. Tell me about your
Sorry, I didn't
regulatory
hear that. What was the question?
Tell us about your FDA regulatory approval path.
Well, I mean, we don't apply for an IND until actually we've gone into, the animal studies with ADME tox, and that will come when we have identified the lead compound for whatever indication that we happen to get to first. I mean, if we get funding from another source and menopause gets the nod, then we go for menopause. However, as you well know, COVID is the existential threat. So that's why I put my energies into, working on this project at the present time.
Hey, Craig, Paulo Machado, very impressive. Just curious, how many pharma companies have you talked about what you're working on and what has the response has been to date?
Well, I haven't really, we're not at the point where we can talk to pharma. As you know, pharma is risk averse and they only want to see you and talk to you when you've gotten through a phase 3 clinical trial. But I have had discussions with 2 generic manufacturers. One is a boutique manufacturer in New Jersey and the other one is parent companies out of Delaware, and they can produce metric tons of cannabinoids. As a matter of fact, they're the largest producer of cannabinoids on the planet right now. And they have proprietary technology patented that really cuts the cost down considerably. I mean, just to give you an example, I can't buy CBD from a bio-supply house unless I've got a DEA license. I can buy it, and if I could, it would cost me about $150 to buy 10 milligrams. Whereas I can buy CBD for research purposes for $25 a gram. So they've got the capability. I've been in discussion with them and they're interested in what we're doing. And maybe it may come down to a licensing agreement. It may come down to an exclusive manufacturing agreement. And then once we've got that in place and we're getting through to the points, the inflection points that we need to, phase 1 clinical trial, phase 1B, phase 2, then we may be able to get the attention of a major pharma.
And Craig,
But in the meantime, I need to really point out, and this has come up in discussions. I've spoken to Deanna about this, and I've talked to Alex about this. The results of these studies are going to have a great impact in terms of COVID-19 just by the mere fact that the natural product and CBD is out there. And if we can publish very positive results in terms of what this class of compounds can do, even before we get FDA approval, those natural products will be available to the general public wherever it's legal. And that's really one of the main reasons, that I think that this needs to be pursued.
Craig, really quickly, how quickly can you get clinical trials going for COVID-19 patients? Or just to get clinical trials going specific to COVID-19?
Well, that's a good question, Deanna. What we have to do is we have to have proof of concept in the engineered mice or in hamsters, and then perhaps in non-human primates. And we're probably talking about 9 months there. ADME tox could take another 6 months. And the point, and I think what's really important is we can only hope that there will be a vaccine that will be available for mankind. But when we look at 7 billion people on the planet, and it would take at least 5 million people to achieve herd immunity, it's going to take years before we actually get to that point where we have the herd immunity that's brought about by the use of a vaccine. So in the meantime, if we show this proof that our drug can work.
Craig, you're out of time. So I would say, you guys can all use the chat box. I just dropped the link to Craig's project. You can learn more about it there. There's also a contact me link on that, so you can actually have offline conversations with them. Also, Craig, you're welcome to write out your answer in the chat box. We save the chat box, as part of our, due diligence process, and we can make that available to everybody as well too, I guess, in our post about who wins this contest. So thank you, Craig. Great job. Very interesting stuff. And glad to have you today. So since we are way over time, let's just get right into the next one. All the judges will take a moment to finish your scoring. So we have now up, pardon me?
Doc Pace.
Doc Pace, yes. And Shelby, I think, yes.
Hi there. I'm
hey,
just
Shelby,
gonna.
you ready to share your screen?
I sure am.
Okay, so, all right, here we go. So judges, if you're not ready, just say something now and I'll slow down. Okay, I'll take that as we're ready. Timer's ready. Just give a thumbs up whenever you start, Shelby. We're good. 5 minutes.
All right. Well, first off, thank you all very much for having me here today. It's an honor to share with you Doc Pace. Do you ever feel like most of the services and industries keep you pretty well informed, in the know, and up to date? Like, for example, package deliveries, flight statuses, food delivery. That's because most industries are on top of real-time updates. But when it comes to doctors and your healthcare, you feel disconnected and poorly informed. At DocPace, we're catching the healthcare industry up to speed with other industries that have set the expectation quite high. Today, we like to have information, instant gratification, and feel like we're in the know. I'm Shelby Sanderford, and I'm on a mission to reduce wait times, eliminate the need for waiting rooms, and ultimately revolutionize the way patients and staff experience the appointment journey. Let's see if I can. The reality is, no one wants to wait. We expect transparency and clear communication. This was all true prior to the pandemic when I started DocPace 6 years ago, and the current situation has only helped accelerate my mission. Without a waiting room to use as a holding place for patients, staff are overburdened with managing patients during the appointment process. The average working American has about 4 doctor's appointments per year. At each appointment, a patient waits about 18 minutes. That means working Americans spend about 17,000 years waiting in a waiting room annually. But that's why I've created DocPace, so we can give people the experience they expect, plus provide a solution that works great for everyone. Every feature is designed to alleviate stress for both the patients and the staff. Our solution integrates with existing software, can be automated, and mimics what other industries are doing in order to create a user-friendly experience. We've designed our product with scale in mind. Our B2B SaaS model provides healthcare providers with a web-based solution, and it communicates with patients via SMS text messaging, so no downloads are required. And if we take a quick look at the market, there are about 1.2 million healthcare providers in the US. We've broken our target markets down by scheduling softwares. Our primary target is Athena Health, which we launched on their marketplace in May, and we're currently focused on building our traction within their network. So how does this work? Patients receive a text message 2 hours prior to their appointment, letting them know if their appointment will start on time or at a delayed time. The text includes a link where the patient can enter into a virtual waiting room. The virtual waiting room includes an appointment tracker, so now they can stay up to date in real time until they're seen by their provider. Plus, we include other features like the ability to check in from their car and for staff to let you know when the room is actually ready for you to head on in. On the staff's end, they access the DocPace dashboard from their existing hardware. At the start of the day, they can see where delays are predicted to happen. Our algorithms use both real-time data and historical data to keep patients in the know. And we've even taken it one step further by providing PACE analytics to show offices where bottlenecks are occurring, what's causing them, and provide recommendations on how to fix them. We follow a standard software pricing model and charge $99 per provider per month. I just quickly want to note a couple of things about the competitive landscape. Most of the competitors are in the virtual queuing space for walk-in appointments, so not handling pre-scheduled appointments. And some of the other ones are focused on e-paperwork and payment rather than real-time updates. Our primary driver for market expansion is through joining 2 new EMR marketplaces per year. In parallel to that, we're targeting bundled providers and strategic partnerships, and our final milestone is to partially onboard a hospital or health system per year. Since March, we fully moved to remote sales, demos, and onboards, and focus all of our marketing efforts through digital tools. We have an incredible team with over 70 years experience in product development, customer success, marketing, and sales. And where we feel we have gaps on our team, we've filled those in with our incredible advisory board. And in conclusion, we're projected to hit 38 million in revenue by 2025, and we are currently raising a 500K convertible note bridge round to help us hit some of these milestones before moving forward with a 2 to 5 million round. And thank you again for having me here today, and I'll turn it over for questions, and any questions I'm not able to answer here, please feel free to contact me directly.
Can you clarify what percentage of the telemedicine market has a scheduling component built into the software versus needing to purchase it as an add-on? The schedule tracker?
The telemedicine, so we can work with any scheduling software. We're not telemedicine specific. We care more about patients who are going in for appointments, even though—
Right, no, I just mean in terms of the platforms that are managing these appointments. I'm familiar with some that have scheduling trackers built into them. I'm just curious how many, what percentage of the market of virtual waiting rooms and telemed platforms have an opportunity for you to augment their capabilities versus what's already got that addressed.
Oh, as far as like sending real-time updates?
Mm-hmm. Well, your whole package of services.
I think we can join any marketplace. I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. So there are platforms for telemedicine, teledoc, and then some of my clients have rolled out telemedicine platforms recently, or virtual waiting rooms. Some of them already have the type of scheduling tracking system in them. Others don't. I'm wondering if you've assessed the market to have a sense of what percentage of these platforms.
So Ivy's trying to ask you, what's your total addressable market? How much of it already?
So we haven't seen that many that are doing actual real-time updates and clarifying when the appointment will actually start. So there are a lot of people who are throwing the term around virtual waiting room, but it's not quite used in the same way. It's like a holding space for people to go into before an appointment. It's not trying to actually eliminate the wait time. So we're trying to get the patient to show up at the time the appointment is actually going to start and be ready for them to be seen.
Yeah, I think this is fairly unique. I know Atul's big on this space. I don't know if he's still listening, but I'd like to have his feedback on it. We'll get it later. Go ahead, Pat.
How are they different from a company like Navinaze?
Yeah, so distinguish yourselves from existing the Navimazes and Fresias of the world.
Or any other practice management system.
No, this is just one specific thing in the practice management system. This is just managing the virtual waiting room.
But many of them, to Ivy's point, have a component which provides those kind of wait times where.
Right.
But this also updates the patient on the doctor's delay, right?
Hey, we should let Shelby answer.
Okay.
Hey, making my job easy. So let's see which question to answer first. To your point about Navimize, they are our most parallel direct competitor, and that they're also sending real-time updates as well through text messaging. They don't have a virtual room system like we do, where now the patient can stay up to date in real time until they're seen. So we keep the patient constantly up to date, and then also give them the space to check in from the car, let the patient know when to come on into the building. So we've really streamlined that back and forth communication between patient and staff. We're really trying to eliminate all of the pre-appointment friction that happens on both the patient and staff end.
How many people are using your software now?
So we're at now about 45 providers. We only launched onto the market in May, so our timing is a little bit crazy with everything that has happened this year. But yeah, now we're up to about 45 providers.
And how fast is that growing?
Which we're very excited about.
Is that hockey sticking? What's going on there?
What, I'm sorry?
Is that growing quickly?
Oh yeah, so we are we're averaging about 1 to 2 demos per week and about 1 new onboard per month right now. I mean,
mostly happening through the marketplaces?
Through the marketplace, and also a lot of direct outreach, actually through LinkedIn, our primary path.
Like this.
That's time.
Okay, you're out of time. Great job, Shelby. I'm surprised we haven't run into you before, as we ran the NOLA High programs for years. We started it, but we'll talk more, I'm sure. Okay, judges, take a moment to do your, go ahead, say something, Shelby, if you like.
I was saying thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's great to see entrepreneurs like you making it, and we'll talk more. Okay, so if you judges will take a moment to fill out their sections for Heat 2, and any questions you have for Shelby, which I have. So next up is one that I referred to in the break a little bit. This is Gerald Shapiro, and he's going to talk about his urinary incontinence product. Looks like his presentation is up and ready to go. He's driving, I guess, himself. Okay, so this is our 9th. We've only got 2 more to go after this. So I appreciate everybody's time and attention, those of us who are still here. It does say 31 people are still participating, so that's not chopped liver. Plus, there's the video afterward that people will watch and download and what have you.
Hey, there's only 1 more after this, is that right?
There's actually 2, sorry.
I tried that active flow flip-flop earlier.
Well, if you do have to leave, then just make sure you submit your scores,
okay.
Even if it's incomplete. So, okay. So, Gerald, why don't you let it go whenever you're ready? You also want to take yourself off mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Okay. Take it away, Jerry. Talk
All right,
fast.
I'm Dr. Jerry Shapiro.
People are losing attention. Talk fast. People are running out of attention.
Okay, so this is a picture of a presentation. Does that get your attention?
That's
because
funny. Good start.
we deal with incontinent women and the embarrassment and loss of dignity from having to wear diapers and smelling like urine when you're around other people. I've been working with incontinent women since 2002. I do in-service training for another product. And when you talk to the women, you develop empathy for how terrible their lives are when they're leaking urine every time they cough, laugh, or sneeze. So because of that, hopefully this will change. We realize this is a really big problem. It's basically 12% of all women, 50 million women in the US and Europe, 500 million worldwide. We have a product that will cost them less than they pay for incontinence pads, about $2,000 a year. And so we have a potential $100 billion market in the US and $1 trillion a year if we sold everybody in the world. Incontinence is fairly common of all kinds, 25% for women younger, 40% middle-aged, 45% of older women. With COVID, a lot of women are working from home today, taking care of their kids, don't have time to change their incontinence pads 10 times a day. So until now, there has not been an adequate remedy. And what we've developed is something that will suit women's needs, fit their needs, no more pads, no more leaks. For elderly women that can't change pads themselves and get exiled to a nursing home, we bring grandma back home with the kids and the grandkids to lead a happy life without pads. So what is the device? It's a small device that goes up into the urethra and blocks leaks. Very simply, I don't know if you can see this, the device has a channel through which urine flows, and when the pressure in the abdomen gets high from a sneeze or laugh, the valve closes and blocks a leak. As soon as the sneeze is over, the valve opens and the woman can urinate again. This is already patented. Patents are shown here. We've done in vitro data in a model of the lower urinary tract, designed it to close halfway between normal pressure and a sneeze, 100 centimeters of water, actual data in 5 devices, 101. Clinically, we're doing early feasibility study. So without the device, an incontinent woman leaked 34 milliliters urine. Put the device in, she leaks 0. And that's statistically significant with a p-value of 0.01. The competition is 4,000 years old. Incontinence pads invented in Egypt of papyrus. Now there are thicker ones called incontinence briefs, adhesive tape covering up the urethral meatus. All these things have to be replaced 10 times a day. Very inconvenient. But basically what we do is we restore an incontinent woman's dignity at less cost, less time, and with more convenience. Sorry, somebody needs to be muted. The team is myself. I've been in the medical device industry 51 years. I've held all kinds of positions, including president. My co-founder is a medical assistant working with incontinent women 20 years. We have an experienced marketing officer, 35 years experience, and a chief financial officer, plus a team of advisors. So we're the people that are going to get the job done. Business model is a device that needs to be replaced. Why? Because bacteria in the urethra will colonize the device. We mix an antimicrobial into the device to keep the bacteria off. It lasts 4 months. So this protects the patient, but has a side benefit of providing a recurring revenue stream, which generates lots of money. We price the device at less than what women are paying for pads right now. And once the device is reimbursed, it'll be billed to third-party payers, so it won't cost the woman anything. We sell it at a discount to the distributor, and these specialty medical device distributors take advantage of their existing relationships with doctors and sell our product. We have value propositions for the doctor, additional revenue for the third-party payer because we eliminate incontinence surgery. Patient benefits are seen. We keep elderly women who are incontinent out of nursing homes, saving them trillions of dollars for the government. And we keep 8 billion diapers out of landfills with an environmental benefit. So we have a quintuple bottom line. I'm not going to go into detail, but we need 1.1 million to get to FDA clearance. We're using the de novo pathway because there's nothing like our device on the market or in the patent literature. Our go-to-market is obviously first publish our clinical trial results in reputable medical journals, educate doctors. 3 months before we expect regulatory approval, we'll hire sales forces, pre-sale docs using our cost-effective digital media and virtual in-person visits, and educate patients through Facebook patient groups.
That's time.
Sorry? I didn't hear it. Upon regulatory approval, we'll start selling in 2 of the early adopter U.S. regions, the West Coast and the South.
Gerald,
Yes,
you're
yes.
at time.
I'm sorry.
Good presentation. Thank you. It looks like you're doing good work. Did I miss the clinical trial slide? I mean, where are you in the regulatory approval process? Oh, you're working on it.
Well, De Novo requires a pivotal clinical trial, which we have planned internationally, multi-site, 2 in Europe, 1 in the US. But we can't start that until we raise 1.1 million. And every investor we've talked to says, show me the data first, and then we'll get you the money. So we are doing our clinical study. It was paused 5 months by COVID, now resumed. And probably in a few months, we'll have that clinical study done and take the data to the investors and say, where's your 1.1 million that you promised?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Anyway, okay, very good. Other questions from the field? Mrs. Harris-Frias, the OBGYN who was here before. Are you still here? I should say doctor.
Yeah, yes, we're here, but my wife isn't, so I don't have a particular question. This one sounds great.
Okay, well, she can watch the video live or later.
You go.
It's going to be posted on medstarter.tv.
Hey, Gerald, I got a great job, Gerald. This is Paul. I'm just curious. You mentioned the reimbursement for this. What do you think the odds are that this gets reimbursed?
It's already reimbursed. There are 2 CPT codes that have paid a total of $500 million, $500 per change of the device. So we don't have to get new codes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw you said it will be at some point covered potentially, so that there's no out of pocket. Did I miss that?
No, that applies to what's called the HCPCS code for a DME device.
Right.
So you have to be in the market for a year before you can get that code.
Okay.
Okay.
And then after that, it'll be free to the patient.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Spoken to any med device / pharma companies, life sciences companies about this already? And if so, what did they tell you?
We had several meetings with Hologic, which is a women's health company, and they said that once you have all the clinical trial work done and you've got FDA clearance, then we'll think about licensing it. So that's why we're going to manufacture and sell it ourselves.
How many people have you put these things in so far, and how did it go?
We have had it in about 6 women. The problem we have is that the women love it so much they don't want to give it back. And we say, no, you can't keep it. It's only in the protocol. You have to give it back. So it's very comfortable. It stops leaks, and it just fits their lifestyle. No more diapers, no more 10 times a day changing things. You just put it in, forget it, and for 4 months.
Is there any possibility that it would get clogged? Or, I mean, you said something about infection before. I mean, how long is the longest you left it in somebody? And how did
Well, like I'm saying, early feasibility is just testing functionality, so we don't leave it in more than about a half an hour. The pivotal trial, which is 4 months per patient, will get that data.
Yeah, that's.
You mentioned nursing homes. Is this something you imagine being used in nursing homes to prevent
good, right?
Operational issues?
Yes. I mean, there may be side effects such as preventing urinary tract infections because bacteria can't get past the device without getting killed.
I'm assuming you're going to put that in as an endpoint in your studies?
No, we check for UTIs. We call the patient every 2 days after we put the device in and take it out. And so far we have seen 0 UTIs.
Right, so you're going to check for UTI prevention as part of your endpoint? That's my question. Sorry, I wasn't clear.
No, that would be a collateral result. Our purpose is to prevent urine leaks, and it seems to be doing a great job of that.
Great, thank you.
How likely is it to get dislodged and go too high or fall out?
Well, the device has an area called the retention feature, which pushes into the urethra very much like a cardiac stent. So we actually measure where the device is, and it seems to stay in place.
Yeah, but you've only left it in for half an hour. That doesn't tell you much about, all sorts of other activities that could affect its location.
Well, actually, the female investors we pitched wanted us to test for those, quote, other activities. So we used a vaginal dilator and inserted and removed it 10 times and then measured whether the device moved or not, and it didn't.
I had to ask that question, didn't I? So
your brother should have asked that question.
Yeah, my brother is definitely the expert there. So I guess you're saying it didn't move.
Correct.
Good. Okay. Any other questions?
And you sort of, when you think of it, Alex, the worst that could happen is it comes out and falls in the toilet bowl. So
No,
that's
the worst that could happen
economic.
to go deeper and get lost in the.
Well, it doesn't seem to want to go that way.
All right, that's time.
Okay, so we're out of time. Gerald, very, very exciting stuff. I know that my OBGYN friends will find it interesting, and we're going to send this to them. Of course, like other projects, they do have a project up on MedStarter. If you go to medstarter.com, it's actually on the top of the homepage. We made it the project of the day, so obviously I'm a little excited about what they're doing. Great start, and I look forward to hearing from you. So, judges, if you'll take a moment to fill out all the information. And Pat, if you can get the next one going while I do that, just because we do want to keep things going. If you have any questions, you guys have 10 seconds to ask Gerald.
That's Grief Coach.
Oh, Grief Coach. Oh, so Emma Payne, are you here? Well, Payne, you have to unmute yourself and share your screen if you like.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, Emma. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this form if you guys want to start whenever Pat is ready.
I'm ready whenever.
Pat is ready. Actually, other judges, are you guys not ready like me? If you need a minute, you know, I'll
Good.
Okay. I'm coming. I just got too excited listening to Gerald. Actually, it's because, and now Pat, I'd like you to tell everybody, is Alex a good cook?
Yes.
Okay. We just had our dinner here, so dinner break. So a little distracting. Not that we break for dinner. Presentation quality. That's pretty good.
I think she probably saw, right?
Okay, she can start. I'm done. Take
Ready?
it away. Go ahead, Emma.
Hi, thanks everybody. Nice to meet you all. My name's Emma Payne, and I'm the founder and CEO of Grief Coach. So I actually believe that bereavement care is healthcare. We have all kinds of data about the negative health outcomes and costs associated with grief, ranging from increases in anxiety, depression, substance use, when people lose a family member to suicide, their own risk of suicidal ideation and behavior goes up 64% when people lose a child. We even see decreases in life expectancy. But at the same time, bereavement care really isn't yet recognized as healthcare in the way that I think it should be. So we believe that grief support saves lives, improves health outcomes, and saves money as well. At the same time, COVID the CDC just released their mortality rate data a couple months ago. All of our causes of death are up in 2020 as compared to 2019. And at the same time, we're having reduced access to traditional support. So bereavement care providers are really struggling. A lot of this was true pre-COVID. Now we're really in trouble. Pretty much every day I'm talking to organizations that have been providing bereavement care for decades and now have the longest wait lists they've ever had, right? 250 people on a wait list, 6 months to get a first appointment after you lose a child to a violent crime in DC, for example. We're seeing all kinds of staff burnout and turnover numbers, and organizations like hospices, who have been traditionally very important providers of bereavement care. And there's also a ton of inequity data coming out about how successful bereavement care providers are in engaging with patients. For example, a Black child in America is 3 times more likely to lose their dad, twice as likely to lose their mom, 20% more likely to lose a sibling by age 10, but also exponentially less likely to access traditional bereavement care. So our solution is a SaaS text messaging platform. We deliver year-long SMS grief support. Messages are customized based on a bunch of things, but notably age. We have a teen series, for example, relationship and cause of death. So if you lose a sibling in a car accident, different messages than if your baby was stillborn, or if you lost your grandmother to COVID. I had spent 25 years building online and mobile communities, and this time resisted the app call. So we are text only in order to be as accessible, affordable, and scalable as we possibly can be. HIPAA compliant, no downloads or integrations required. My favorite thing about Grief Coach is that we deliver texts not only to the grieving person, but also to friends and family who want to help. So we'll have, one of our subscribers, Rachel, is like, I really love the text you're sending. It's helping me deal with my mom's death, but I really, really like the ones you're sending my husband because it's helping him be more patient with me. Every subscription allows the grieving person to add in friends and family who, in our experience, really want to help and don't know how, so that they're getting tips and reminders all year long. We are live. We went to market in March of 2019. We've had consumer D2C purchases in the US, Canada, Mexico, El Salvador, UK, South Africa. And then a couple months before COVID hit, we had just launched some B2B offerings. So we have one for US hospices, tissue banks, just sold my first EAP to a police department in Florida, and of course, grief organizations as well. For organizations, I think these are the most important areas of return for them. For starters, let's use a hospice as an example. So we're doing a rollout with 3 hospices right now in Ohio. They often will have, 1 or 2 people on their bereavement team. And they
Emma, you got 45 seconds left.
Okay. They can easily have a caseload of 1, 2, or 3,000 deaths. So to be able to do more with less is super important. That lets the staff also have a lot less burnout and turnover. We allow people to send direct texts out to the grievers and their family members. So there's some good lead gen happening there with personalized fundraisers and so on. We're cheaper than printing and mailing, postage, and also way better data. I talk to bereavement managers at hospices that say, we don't know if anyone opens the brochures, and when we call, no one picks the phone up. So for them, getting a monthly report with engagement and open rates is super helpful. Market opportunity.
Emma, that's time.
Okay.
First question. Tell me about the market opportunity.
Thank you.
This counts as your 5 minutes, though.
Yeah.
Please try to go quickly because I'm sure we have a lot of questions.
Plus, I know I'm last of the day, so everyone's.
You're not. You got one more after you.
Oh, is there? Oh.
Go.
4,500 hospices in the U.S., for example, they are actually required as part of their Medicare funding to provide bereavement care for 13 months. So they're a really important market for us. I've made my first sale to hospices.
Short answers.
OPOs, tissue banks also have that requirement.
Emma, tell me how much money there is and how much you can make.
So I'm looking for $400,000 to basically close my pipeline business, expand sales, and get me at least a profitability. I just actually bootstrapped the company, so we're probably do about 6 figures this year, which is pretty good for the first full year in business. And I believe that there is a significant market opportunity when it comes to bereavement care. We're getting language through the House of Representatives right now about reimbursement, so that'll really change the model as well. Oh, and I want to launch in Spanish. And I think that's it. We got a bunch of
okay.
Cool.
Emma, stop.
Yep.
Okay, other questions?
How big's your team?
How large is your team, Emma?
So I'm full-time. I have 2 part-time people, a bereavement manager and a dev. And then I have a team of 14 contributors who help me, like someone from the American Association of Suicide Prevention.
How many FTEs? How many full-time equivalents?
Not me. I'm it.
Okay, that's what I thought. Tell me, like, grief coaching is not, there's as many ways to do it as there are people. Tell me about the clinical benefit. How do you know that your grief coaching is the best or works for everybody or whatever? Tell me some data, studies, something.
Yeah, so that's why I was actually part of that Colorado place where you found me, Alex, is because I need that data, right? What I have is anecdotal data that says when people receive text-based support and when their friends and family receive support, when we support the caregivers, their sleep is better, they're less substance use, they're less anxious and depressed, they feel supported. But what I'm trying to do, I've got this hospice rollout in Ohio where they're paying, but that will be about surveying users for outcomes so that I have broader data about the actual intervention value.
Dr. Jong, do you have a question?
I did. My video just died, but I was just curious in terms of plugging into the sort of existing mental health care system, like if people are struggling with just these text messages, do you have ways that they can be connected to psychiatrists, other folks, if they need more support, and potentially getting those people if they want to refer one of their patients to your product?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a lot of, so when I do a rollout with an organization, when I do a B2B rollout, they have a bereavement team, right? Usually that bereavement team can't even get to 80% of the people on their list. So our texts are going to everybody at least twice a week for the full 13 months, and their team is there to provide extra as needed. So we'll actually text and say, hey, we hope the texts are helping, but if you need some extra support, call this number and you'll be tapped into the bereavement team at Hospice of the Western Reserve. So the B2B model usually comes within a framework of broader support.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend a distribution model that includes like being able to give this to people who need it, as opposed to going and finding it yourself.
Right.
So, whoa. Okay. Other questions?
Nothing new. Onun için mi kalktın anne?
So also, if you are not on mute, put yourself on mute if you have background noise. I think that's probably Soner. Go ahead.
One question: how does this relate to PTSD?
Well, so one of the major product extensions that people have been asking for basically since 2 minutes after I went live is to, right now, Grief Coach is for people after a death, but anticipatory grief would be what we call grief that comes from diagnosis of all sorts, right? So, hey, can you send me text to help me because I think my friend's suicidal, or my brother has PTSD ever since he came back from fighting, or my mom has Alzheimer's. So the current model is for post-death, but I think a huge opportunity is with anticipatory grief and the actual ability to provide support along the way through diagnosis as well.
Okay, Emma, that was fantastic. I think what you do is very important, especially this year. I don't know any of us who probably haven't lost somebody lately. And it's, I think I know I would love to have access to your platform or give it to people I know.
Thanks for having me.
So no, thanks, and look forward to you. And I don't know if you made the next round in that other challenge, but we'll talk about it. So last up is perhaps appropriate. Give us a moment to meditate on cloud 9. I think we all want to do that. That's a nice big smile there. So so she was a last second reminder entry, thanks to MedStarter mentor Deanna Dammer. So thanks, Deanna, for pushing me on that. And I had promised that she could present, but of course then I forgot. So I clearly need to be more mindful and meditate, and maybe this will help me. I'll shut up now. If all the judges are ready, this is the last one of the day. After this, if my new and improved calculation model behind the scenes, is working right, then we should know our answer immediately. But if not, it might be 5 minutes. And we can also just leave the chat open, people talk and chat and, have a drink or whatever. So, so 5 minutes starting now, whenever you're ready, when you start talking or whenever I shut up. Take it away, Dylanea.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dylanea Davis, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share our story with you. My background is in market research, psychology, and product innovation. And previously, I led the market research team at a Dow 30 financial services company, where my focus was customer satisfaction and new product strategy. Cloud9's mission is to develop tools for healthcare organizations and employee wellness plans that are addressing the mental health and opioid crisis that we're facing today. We project to do 20 in sales that will yield $12.9 million in profit in 2023 with our solution.
Dylanea, are you advancing yourself? Okay, there you go.
We've developed a smart mobile platform that delivers medical grade meditations to providers, patients, and employees. Powered by artificial intelligence, our smart platform personalizes the app experience at the user level based on the meditations that are played and other app metrics that we capture. And we're unique on two levels. First, for each of our business-to-business customers, we feature their logo, colors, and content, and we pair it with a curated library of meditations that match their needs. Second, we follow a clinically designed process for writing disease state-specific meditations that leverage clinical trial data and best practices from hypnotherapy. And then we have our medical team, medical providers review the content. After 3 years of research and development, we have this turnkey process down to a science. This is important because we're facing a mental health crisis. Humanity is suffering and the data is stunning. Right now, 1 out of 2 of us are struggling with mental health issues. And just last week, JAMA announced a significant jump in overdoses and suicide. Nearly 1 in 4 18 to 24-year-olds have admitted that they've considered suicide during COVID. And they're predicting a second wave of mental health devastation that's coming. Our product meets people where they are when they need the support most. We're literally in their pocket, on their phone, enforced by their medical provider or their employer for very low cost. The beauty of our platform is our ability to scale it. Our flexible tech stack allows us to create products for our customers in as fast as 2 hours on the front end. And on the back end, we can store, protect, and deliver the content to multiple customized partners at scale. When it's branded, then licensed product at this level, and the cost $500 a month to $10,000 a month based on the number of seats. From there, the access to by the organization, the patients, employees, or both. And these are just a few examples of relationships we have. And this is exciting news as of this week. We launched our platform as part of a 61-day health challenge that's in partnership with Trinity of New England and Fox 61 News. So with Trinity's marketing efforts and TV exposure, we're expecting 10,000 new users on the platform, which will generate north of $500,000 in revenue for 2021. You can all join this challenge if you download MediMind, which is in the App Store now. It's free for 90 days, and it will help you make mindful, healthy choices from now to January 1st. And we're all about the data. We filed a patent application in 2015, which provides details on our machine learning capability. And working with our doctor partners, we're currently analyzing the ties between meditation usage and wellness outcomes, as well as genetics. We're also conducting a clinical pilot with Hartford Healthcare, which happens to be the second ever bilingual clinical trial in the US on meditation. So we're really excited about that.
Exciting.
We've raised $840,000 in pre-seed funding so far, and we have a letter of intent for 2 million more, but we would take up to 1 million more before we close the round. We're also applying for NIH phase 2 grant funding. With this infusion, we'll focus on 3 areas of the business: sales, data security, and AI analytics. And as mentioned, we're on track to do 23 million in revenue, resulting in 12.9 million in profit in 2023. So we're looking for compassionate capitalists that want to grow their portfolio while touching heads and hearts across the globe.
30 seconds.
Wait, well, more room for questions.
Oh, okay, so she still has time left.
Yeah, I have the appendix slides if questions come up.
No, that's an excellent, excellent presentation. Really well done. And yes, we do exactly that. We put it into your extra time. So questions? I know Paulo is big on meditation, but I think we had to kick him out because he was making noise.
I have a question.
Sure.
Delana, can you talk a little bit about the 61-day challenge that you're launching?
Sure. So it's our first example of an integration with a partner. So if you look back at the slide here, what we did is MediMind's an app that if somebody wants to access our content and they can't get it through their doctor or their employer, they could download this version of it in the App Store. So we put the button right here that links to the 61-day challenge. And basically it's a pledge that as we're going into Thanksgiving and Christmas, we know that anxiety levels are typically high anyway, but especially in the strange year we're having, but also eating habits. This is the time of year that people tend to gain weight. So this year, especially with COVID, they wanted this annual challenge to have a real strong mental wellness focus. So we provided all that content, and there's about 300 meditations in this version of the app.
How many revenue streams do you have at this point?
So there are three. So one, this is the B2C option, which we don't tend to prioritize. We're really focusing on the B2B relationships. Second would be selling directly to healthcare organizations and companies. But third would be partnership agreements. So for example, the Center for Health Affairs in Northern Detroit has a referral agreement with us. So they're promoting and selling on our behalf to organizations like Cleveland Clinic. So that relationships just got formalized legally this past month. So we're expecting referrals to come in from there.
Inserting lines.
Awesome.
What's your, Delenia, this is Atul Kumar, sorry, I missed part of it. What's your CAC and LTV?
I'm sorry, your what?
Your customer acquisition cost and your long-term value of the customer?
Oh, that's a great question. So we're studying the data right now, and there's different use cases. So in one use case, we're looking at when our product is available as part of a physician supervised program, what is the download trends? How long do they stay with us? What's usage behavior? So that answer, I guess we're still learning, is the short answer, but what we're going to find out from this campaign, we've seen a 46% retention. Once somebody downloads and starts using, they stay on and we retain them. But I think it might vary based on use case. So we'll know more, I'd say, in the next 3 months on that. So I don't have an answer yet.
And how many users to date?
4,000.
And return users?
She's very new, Atul.
Okay.
Yeah, well, right now it's unusual because as a result of COVID, for this one, as an example, we made it free for 90 days so people have access without having to pay. We're now just starting to see conversion. So I guess if I look at COVID, our retention is about 50% during COVID.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
So how are you guys better or different than like all the other ones out there on the market, other than the label factor?
So people tend to ask us, how are we different than Headspace and Calm? And the short answer is they're great because they're valued at $1 billion. They've had great success in trailblazing, bringing guided meditation to the general public. But in general, they're spending a lot of their money on marketing and they're promoting their brand, whereas our focus and investment priority has been research and development, artificial intelligence, the clinical trials, and then making it the brand of the hospital or employer. So they don't do any of those things. The other is that we are very inclusive with how we write our meditations, and we're focusing on, for example, the 47% of the general public in chronic pain, whereas Calm and Headspace are picking up what we call the yogi market, which trends upper middle class, East and West Coast, Caucasian and female. We're not that. We're making this general market play to meet people where they are, no matter where they are socioeconomically or ethnically.
You also look like you might be a good acquisition for either one of these because you do different things.
Yeah, that's a great.
Anna, stop with the softball questions. We know you like her.
No, but what I would tell you is that a couple of years ago, Headspace launched something called Headspace Health, which is a wholly owned subsidiary. So that's exactly what our legal team thinks is how long before Calm calls us, and we're just kind of leveling the playing field between the two of them so they start to have relationships in the healthcare world. And I'll just show you this. These are pre-COVID numbers, but for context, the mobile, it's called mHealth. The mHealth app market was valued at $34 billion in 19, and you see what it's projected to do by 2026. And these are pre-COVID numbers. So
last question, Kat, do you have any questions for her as the psychiatrist in the group? Oh, she just dropped off. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so you're out of time, and I wasted your last. Oh, hang on, we've got one question from the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you got a question? Go for it.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious in terms of that clinical data and the sort of mindfulness piece. Are you doing any studies on like specific like DSM disorders, or is it more general health at this point?
Great question. So the clinical pilot that we have underway, it's with patients that are being treated for chronic pain for 3 months or more. So that's what this pilot will be. But the phase 2 that we'll do, we're going to get into dosing. So doctors know how to dose meditation at the disease state level.
Okay, so so all judges, if you guys could finish up, new judges, make sure you put in your t-shirt size and your address so we can send you one of our cool t-shirts. Not this, actually, the one that like Paul was wearing before. I guess I can go grab one. But yeah, so if you finish it up, I'll see here on my scoring sheet, folks. So I see Betty's done with hers, Paulo's done, Pat, Steve Blocker, Ed Van Bank. So yeah, so if you're a judge, like a tool, make sure you get to the end of the thing and hit submit. Do not use the back button. There you go. Thanks, Kat. So yeah, so we see it in real time, so we can actually just, as soon as everybody puts their stuff in, we can go ahead. Now, if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, anybody wants to talk about themselves or something that they had questions. I know Gina Raposa had a question. She wanted to know how we can start our mindfulness journey today with your app. But if you guys want to ask each other anything, talk anything, just unmute and let the conversation begin. Grab a drink if you like, while we wait for the judges to finish.
Cheers.
I'll answer the mindfulness question. So if anybody wants to experience the product and hear the clinical grade nature of what we wrote, you can go to the App Store and type in MediMind, all one word, and you can try it for free for a few months and let me know what you think.
Have you seen a lot of these crop up in the recent, not even COVID, but even pre-COVID? I mean, I've quite frankly come across, more than a handful, I'd say a dozen of these applications, which all make sense. And I think there's a market and a niche for everybody. And I think, I do view it with a bit of an abundant mentality than a scarcity one, which is it's not a zero-sum game, because sometimes, when you're swimming in an ocean, it doesn't matter because there is so much for everybody. But
that's exactly how we think about it. So we always say we're bringing in gentle awareness, and this is a humanity thing. So we don't even call Common Headspace the competitors. We call them the alternatives. So yeah, no, we like to partner, and I think there's conversations I heard today that pitched that we would love to partner.
But how do you differentiate yourself, and what is your claim to fame? I mean, that I think becomes a substantiative question.
Yeah.
And a very important one, because somehow you have to think about going viral. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but yet you have to have that, on the back of your mind, somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I would say this is why we are prioritizing the B2B side, because from a B2C standpoint, we would be a whisper in the marketplace up against Common Headspace. So we're not focusing on the healthy market that wants to meditate. We're focusing on the infirmed market. And here's where, we've been told by doctors, we're not going to say, oh, you can't download. It's different to say, download the Trinity of New England app, and there's meditations I use with my kids to help them sleep. It's a different value proposition, and it's demonstrating efficacy the minute a hospital puts their logo on it. So that's been our strategy. And like others here today, we've been bootstrapping it. So the eminent funding event is really going to be transformational for us. So we're really excited.
The trouble with B2C, like you said, you need 10 million, you need to make a $10 million bet, and you could lose it all. That's the table stake. Right. The trouble with B2B is that, the sales cycle, if they happen to close, are 18 months long. And if you're stuck in one or probably more, 2 sales cycle, you're dead, because nobody has that kind of, bootstrapping runway, quite frankly, which is why, healthcare is so treacherous, in fact, because it's a no-win, B2B or B2C, for those reasons. How do you
upside? Yeah, it's super sticky business. So what they've also told us is, well, we would never push this out to our employees and patients and take it away. Once it's fixed, it becomes a really great annuity. And we have found that we actually started selling on the commercial side for B2B in February, and then COVID hit. So to be scrappy, we price, we were flexible with pricing just to get in the door with these initial relationships, setting the expectation that it's year one COVID. But we are learning about the sales cycle. So obviously the smaller the org, the faster the signature, and the bigger the org, it's kind of has to go up and down the flagpole.
Yeah, but regardless, healthcare, I think generally likes flashy, shiny,
Clear winner.
big stuff. They like to see,
As usual,
the traditional kind of, sales models.
Well, what we've heard is because a lot of the hospitals had to surrender their integrative medicine departments because they don't want people coming in for acupuncture and things like that, they say for the cost of a part-time massage therapist who can only work with 20 people a week, we can license your product and it's unlimited usage. So this is a redirect. So they're just redirecting what they're spending in using digital tools that could be used anywhere. The other thing is they want to use our platform to do patient research. So we just have a button that connects into REDCap, for example. So they're holding patient survey data and data that they're capturing. So that was a surprise. We weren't even expecting that, and that's turning out to be a really valuable thing for them as well.
So
Can I jump in with a question?
Sure.
I just have a question for the people that are here. Alex said this is sort of a crowdfunding thing. We have to offer something to the crowd. So what have people offered? When you filled out your profile, you had to say what we're giving to patients and providers and et cetera.
Sorry. Yeah. So here was I kind of put in different offers.
Right.
So if it were let's say a physician or a supervisor, if they made a donation, we could offer a year at a very reduced price or for free. So like we said, in a super simple execution, within a day, I can turn around a branded version if you give me your PMS colors and your logo and your contact information. So, well, that's what we could do. If it was a bigger donation, we can make a custom app free for a whole year for a whole company. So we're open to that. We're open to the freemium model just to get more data in the door.
Thank you. Anybody
How
else?
long have you been at this? How long have you been working on this?
Our MVP was out 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then the patent that talked about what we would do was filed in 2015.
And so 4,000 patients across how many hospital or payers or whatever, the B is?
Yeah, there's 7 different versions of it. So when I say 4,000, I mean total, everybody across all accounts. Now, for context, with Hartford Healthcare, they have 30,000 employees, and we're getting 500 downloads a month and it's interestingly, 20% are employees, 80% are their family members. So we're finding out that that's very valuable too. So if family members are suffering, even though they're not the front line, right? They're worried about their front line mom or dad or kids.
Okay.
So those are
stop, time out. I'm waiting for one more judge. Okay. So Atul, finish your scoring or get off the phone. Okay. So it's not that everybody else, didn't have dinner and I did. So I just think, we're all waiting for you, Atul.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We've got tons of data on what people think, lots of feedback, lots of advice, amazing presentations from really just, I'm always inspired and impressed by the innovators that come to our events and get involved and go up on the MedStarter site. Now, for those of you who have been here today and haven't been on the MedStarter site, imagine this times like 1,000 in terms of the people who will see your idea. The reason I started MedStarter was for my own startup at the time, like 8 years ago, and I couldn't do everything at once. I couldn't build product, take care of customers, get out to market, and bring in investors, what have you. And so I tried to go up on Kickstarter, they wouldn't let us. I tried to go to Indiegogo, and they really didn't have very much traffic back then. So we made our own, and the community that built up around it is people like the folks you see here today. So 90,000 folks who, come to the site, visit, click on stuff, whatever. And they are people in the healthcare space. I found that if we got a story in the Wall Street Journal versus a story in MedCity News, actually I'd get much more, relevant traffic from the MedCity News folks, even though it would only go to, 250,000 people back in the day. So I guess my point is, if you're not already on MedStarter, we recommend it. Atul, if you've finished, then I can probably tell everybody who the winners are because my calculator, Atul is in. Thank you, Atul. Okay, so now talk amongst yourself for another 30 seconds while I double check the results, make sure nothing changed. Not to say your votes are irrelevant at all. I'm just saying that, 2 more votes came in since then. So I have to check. Ooh, there is a little bit of a change here. I'm sorry. Please don't. This pressure is killing me. Okay, so the first and second are still the same. Wow, there's like a 3-way tie for third. That's not cool.
That's always good.
It's good and it's bad, but it just means it's more work for Pat. So basically what happens after this is there's a due diligence process whereby we will go through all of your documents and such and try to figure out if, we're a good match for investors and investee. So we always take the win, place, and show. I don't know about you guys, but I learned how to do math at a racetrack. So I always think in terms of win, place, and show. Maybe that's why I am who I am, right? But that's a whole different thing. So let's go with the 3-way tie for third, which I think maybe your extra innings helped here, Delineate. So you actually squeaked in third place along with Grief Coach and DocSpace. So everybody was excited about the last 3 out of 4, the last 4 teams, and I am excited about you guys too. I think you're all doing great stuff. So great job to Shelby, Emma, and I can't pronounce this. Delanea. I think it's like it's trying to like make lines or something, like delineate, but Delena. Okay, Delena. And that's even with deleting Deanna's votes on you, which were superlative, but that's how we roll. And so second place, a long time ago, like 2.5, 3 hours ago, we heard from Norm with his artificial kidney. So I'm very excited about that. I don't even know if Norm is still here, but round of applause for Norm. Very excited, even though he didn't show up with a prototype. If he showed up with a prototype, you definitely would have won.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's what we're here for, to coach you. First place, I think a lot of people got excited about the urinary incontinence. So good job, Gerald. Shapiro and another word I can't pronounce, Floel, are the winners. So great job.